Chapter 1008. This black figure was shrouded in a black robe. He held a folding fan in his hand, and looked like a feather fan. However, there was an evil aura around him that blended in with the darkness. He didn't seem to make any movements. He just floated towards the yacht like a ghost. "Who's there?" A crew member suddenly noticed him. Just as he was about to shout, he was lightly tapped by the folding fan in his hand. Poof! A bloody hole appeared between his eyebrows. He fell to the ground and died. Although this sound was faint, it was enough to attract some people's attention. Xiao Bai and the extraterrestrial creature suddenly opened their eyes. Xiao Bai was still riding on the extraterrestrial creature's back, as if it was really his mount. Two pairs of black eyes flashed as they looked into the darkness. Tang Zheng also suddenly opened his eyes and sat up from the bed. Lu Qingmei rubbed her eyes and asked lazily, "What's wrong?" Tang Zheng raised a finger and signaled for her to be quiet. He said in a low voice, "Someone's on the yacht. You stay here. I'll go take a look." Lu Qingmei's whole body shook. Her sleepiness was completely gone. She asked, "Really?" Seeing Tang Zheng nod, she quickly put on her clothes and covered her exquisite figure. She watched as Tang Zheng walked out of the cabin. As soon as Tang Zheng looked up, he saw a person walking towards him from the end of the corridor. At his feet was a corpse. Xiao Bai rode on the extraterrestrial creature and stood in between them. He glared at the man in black. The man in black's eyes fell on the extraterrestrial creature. His eyes lit up and he praised, "Red Lunar Beast, I finally found you. I didn't think that the Red Lunar Beast would still exist in this world." Ha ha. Red Lunar Beast. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. This person actually knew the origin of the extraterrestrial creature. Could it be that he was also from the outer sky? He immediately sized up this person carefully. Suddenly, his eyes fell on the folding fan, and his heart skipped a beat. He cried out in surprise, "It's you, Demon Venerable?" He had a deep impression of this fan. When the demons returned, the dragon group cooperated with the National Security Bureau to snipe the demons in the sea. A world-shaking war broke out. The leader of the demons was this demon sovereign. Many soldiers died at his hands. In the end, he was the only one who survived. In order to claim credit, Xing Feng deliberately reported to his superiors that he had wiped out all the demons, but in reality, there was still a fish that escaped the net. The demon lord turned around and looked at Tang Zheng in shock. He snorted coldly. "Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. You managed to escape that time, but this time you can forget about surviving. Let's see who else can save you." The demon lord was very confident. Back then, Tang Zheng had left a deep impression on him. This was because Tang Zheng was able to break through his illusionary god-demon realm, which shocked him. Tang Zheng's lips curled up into a mocking smile. He was no longer the same person as before. Now he was a rank 4 Yuanying realm cultivator. His strength had improved tremendously. Moreover, he had Xiao Bai to help him. He did not believe that he could not defeat a demon lord. However, the demon lord definitely did not come here in the middle of the night to relax. He must have done it on purpose. What was his purpose? That was the key. Furthermore, he recognized the Red Lunar Beast. This was like a cloud that had cleared up. Tang Zheng was very interested. He wanted to get some information from him. "You are so confident that you can kill me. But who was the one who ran away in a panic? And who was the one who did not show up for such a long time? I don't know where you went to lick your wounds. Now you finally have the guts to show up? Aren't you afraid of death?" Tang Zheng mocked. The demon lord's expression changed. His eyes shone with coldness and killing intent. He roared angrily, "Nonsense! Why would I run away? I am the demon lord. How can I allow you to talk nonsense? I will let you know the consequences of talking nonsense later. Today is a pleasant surprise. I did not come here for you, but I did not expect to meet you here. Now, I can take care of you." "Then who are you here for? You are not qualified enough for me to come here for you. I am here for the Red Lunar Beast. You are so lucky to have found the Red Lunar Beast." The demon lord's eyes shone as he spoke. It was as if he had seen a rare treasure. "What is the Red Lunar Beast?" Tang Zheng asked. The demon lord was slightly shocked. He then laughed out loud. "Haha, so you don't know how precious the Red Lunar Beast is. How ignorant. Actually, it is true. The red lunar beast comes from the sky beyond heaven. How could you know how precious it is? But I don't see how precious it is. Tang Zheng refuted on purpose. The demon lord snorted and said with disdain, "That is because you are ignorant. How can you tell how precious the red lunar beast is? As long as I consume the red lunar beast's inner core, my power will increase by leaps and bounds. The red lunar beast's inner core is a holy item for cultivation. It is a treasure that many people dream of having." Tang Zheng was shocked. He could not help but stare at the red lunar beast. However, he saw that it was very confused. Obviously, it did not know about this either. He was still skeptical. He purposely said with disdain, "It is just a beast's inner core. It is not like I have never seen one before. It is not as magical as you say. Your way of lying is too low." "Who said that I am lying?" The demon lord was furious. He stared at Tang Zheng fiercely and said, "Everyone in the sky beyond heaven knows how precious the red lunar beast is. The red lunar beast is born by absorbing the essence of moonlight. From the moment it is born, it is extremely talented. It can cultivate faster with half the effort. Every time it absorbs the essence of moonlight to cultivate, the moon will turn red like blood. This is the origin of the red lunar beast's name." Tang Zheng was shocked. He looked at the red lunar beast in disbelief. It can absorb the essence of moonlight to cultivate. That is too powerful. Normal people could only absorb the spiritual qi in the air to cultivate. They did not even dare to think about absorbing the essence of the sun and moon. There was no way they could absorb the essence of the sun and moon. However, Tang Zheng knew that the essence of the sun and moon was one of the most precious sources of cultivation. He did not expect the red lunar beast to be so talented. No wonder the demon lord was here for the red lunar beast. Coincidentally, I saw a picture of the red lunar beast skeleton on the internet. I asked around and finally found this place. I never thought that I would actually see it. Haha, the heavens are helping me. Just wait until I consume the red lunar beast's inner core. No one in this world will be able to defeat me. The demon lord's eyes shone with madness. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. This demon lord was so trendy. He even knew how to surf the internet. Without a doubt, this picture of the red lunar beast skeleton was accidentally posted on the internet by one of the exploration team members. Who would have thought that the demon lord would find out about it? That's why he followed me all the way here. Of course, the demon lord came here hoping that he could get lucky. He did not expect to see the real body of the red lunar beast. How could he not be happy? Tang Zheng thought through the details and rejoiced that he was one step ahead of the rest, and was the first to act. Otherwise, the scarlet lunar beast would not be able to escape from the demon lord. If the scarlet lunar beast was really as powerful as he said, then the demon lord's power would increase by leaps and bounds, and it would be difficult to suppress him. "Oh, red lunar beast, once I consume your inner core, not only will I be able to absorb the powerful energy in the inner core, but more importantly, I will also possess your talent. When that time comes, hee." The demon lord raised his head and looked at the night sky. In the boundless night sky, the bright moon was very eye-catching. "When that time comes, I will be able to absorb the essence of the moonlight directly. My power will improve tremendously, and I will become the king of this world. Even in the outer heaven, I will be able to occupy a spot. No one will be able to threaten me anymore." Hearing this, Tang Zheng's heartstrings trembled as he realized that the situation was far more complicated than he had imagined. He hurriedly asked, "Are you saying that after consuming the Crimson Moon Beast's Niden, I can also possess its innate talent?" "Of course." The demon lord raised his head proudly and answered with disdain. Tang Zheng was enlightened. "No wonder you are trying so hard to get the red lunar beast. This talent was much more important than the energy in the red lunar beast's inner core. Once he had this talent, he would be able to continuously absorb the essence of the moonlight from the moon. The essence of the moonlight was much more powerful than spiritual qi. His cultivation would be much faster." Tang Zheng looked at the red lunar beast with a complicated expression. It seemed to have noticed that Tang Zheng was looking at it, so it turned around. When their eyes met, the red lunar beast shrunk its neck. It knew that the situation was not good. Thank you for telling me all this. If it weren't for you, I am afraid that I wouldn't know about all this. Telling me all this before you die is the last bit of value you have, Tang Zheng said calmly. The demon lord was stunned for a moment. Then, it laughed out loud as if it had heard the funniest joke in the world. It snorted. Are you really scared out of your wits? How could you say something so stupid? About the red lunar beast, it is useless for you to know, because you will not be able to see me absorb its inner core. After he finished speaking, he was ready to take action. However, he heard a few cracking sounds. Several cabin doors opened, and many people came out. They were finally awakened by this movement. They came out to see what was going on. When they saw that there was an evil black-clothed man on the yacht, they were scared and retreated. Everyone, don't panic. I am here. He can't hurt you. Tang Zheng comforted them. Who is he? Du Qifeng asked. A fish that escaped the net. I let him escape. Today he won't be able to escape. Tang Zheng took a step forward and stood in front of the demon lord and the others. Xiao Xiaoling also hurriedly stood in front of everyone. He looked at the demon lord with vigilance. He had already judged that this person was extraordinary, so he raised his spirit. The demon lord coldly glanced at everyone and said, Hee, there are so many people here. Wait until I get rid of you, then I'll get rid of them. Then no one will know what happened tonight. It's a pity that you won't be able to see me soar into the sky and amaze the world. Don't dream about your spring and autumn. Tang Zheng stepped forward and took the initiative to attack. The War Soul Sword slashed the air and directly attacked the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord snorted coldly and opened his folding fan. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A cold light flew out of the folding fan and shot straight at Tang Zheng. Ding-dang. After a crisp sound, the War Soul Sword resisted the attack of the cold light. Only a few puffs were heard. The cabin door and walls had many small holes, which were completely destroyed by the cold light. Chapter 1009. The battle between the two was very fierce. This narrow space was not enough for them to display their true fighting strength, so their figures flashed, and the two sides tacitly came to the deck. The sword chi and the cold light from the folding fan fell into the water, splashing a column of water into the sky. The Demon Lord's eyes were awe-inspiring as he asked, Your cultivation has increased so much. How did you do it? Compared to the beginning, Tang Zheng's strength had indeed increased a lot. The Demon Lord couldn't help but be surprised, but he still underestimated Tang Zheng's strength. Tang Zheng sneered and didn't answer, but the war soul in his hand danced more and more airtight. The sword light intertwined together and attacked the Demon Lord from all directions. The Demon Lord retreated slightly and shouted, Demonize soul destruction. As soon as his voice fell, the Demon Lord's eyes turned as black as ink, deeper than the night sky, as if a person's soul would be sucked in at a glance. A trembling feeling arose from the depths of his soul, causing Tang Zheng to jump in fright. He hurriedly circulated his energy to defend against this strange attack. He had seen the power of this technique before, and the scene of flesh and blood flying everywhere after the explosion was still vivid in his mind. Suddenly, a crew member rushed out of the deck and happened to meet the Demon Lord's eyes. His soul trembled and exploded with a bang, turning into a rain of blood. The others were almost scared silly by this scene. They were dumbfounded and stared blankly at the rain of blood in the sky. Tang Zheng hurriedly shouted, go back, don't come out, don't look into his eyes. The others woke up from a dream and quickly retreated into the cabin like a receding tide. They shivered and their faces were pale, and they didn't dare to come out again. Xiao Xiaoling also felt cold all over. Only now did he understand how vulnerable his so-called strength was in front of these super experts. Suddenly, his resentment towards Tang Zheng dissipated a lot. He was looking forward to the result of the battle between the two, and who was more skilled. Lu Qingmei also came out of the house and came to the crowd. She comforted them softly. Don't worry, Tang Zheng is here. The bad guys can't hurt us. The others looked at her deeply, and the fear and haze in their hearts dispersed a little. While the two of them were engaged in a fierce battle, Xiao Bai and the red lunar beast were like spectators. They leisurely strolled to the deck to watch the battle. Xiao Bai muttered to himself, Master's strength has really increased by a lot. This demon lord is not to be underestimated. This kind of battle is more interesting. As it spoke, it patted the Red Lunar's head and asked, Red Lunar, I didn't know that you had such an impressive background. Absorbing the essence of the moonlight is indeed a good thing. However, the two words Red Moon are too hard to pronounce. I want to give you a new name. Whoosh. The Red Moon beast snorted as if it was protesting against Xiaobai's decision. Xiaobai knocked on the Red Moon beast's head and pretended to be angry. You dare to protest? Do you believe that I will roast you now? The Scarlet Lunar beast shuddered and did not dare to protest anymore. It was as docile as a kitten. This sentence became the most effective weapon to threaten the Red Lunar beast. That's more like it. Xiaobai was satisfied and started to think. As for the battle in the outside world, it did not seem to be affected by it at all. Suddenly it cheered. Wow, I got it. This name must be very good, just a little bit worse than my name. The Red Lunar beast's eyes were filled with fear, as if it had foreseen something bad. Little Yu, this name sounds good, right? Xiaobai's eyes shone brightly as it spoke. The Red Lunar beast's eyes were filled with despair. It was trying its best to control its thoughts of resisting, but it definitely wanted to kill itself. Xiaobai clapped its paws excitedly. From now on, you will be called Little Yu. Remember my kindness of giving you a name. You must repay me in the future. Xiaobai was very proud of itself, as if it had done something great. The Red Lunar beast almost burst into tears. It was filled with grief and indignation. It looked like it was taking revenge, but how could it repay him? Tang Zheng also heard their conversation and wanted to laugh in his heart. Indeed, there was always one thing to conquer another. Even though the Scarlet Lunar beast was extraordinary, it could only be obedient in the hands of Little White. It could not even cause a ripple. What was the origin of this Xiaobai? How could it have such a demonic power? Tang Zheng was even more curious about this question. In fact, he had already asked it yesterday, but Xiaobai's memory was limited. It could only remember what happened after it was born. As for the origin of its own race, it did not know anything at all. Tang Zheng could not help but feel disappointed, but it also filled him with anticipation. The Red Lunar beast was not simple, so one could only imagine how amazing Xiaobai's true identity was. The power of the demonic soul extermination was very strong. Tang Zheng felt as if his soul was about to scatter, which made his heartstrings tremble. The battle soul sword was waving faster and faster. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed through his mind. The Tai Chi Yin Yang sword art had magically appeared. This set of sword technique was usually impossible to remember, and would only appear in this kind of life and death situation. So Tang Zheng was not surprised at all, and was able to use this set of sword technique with ease. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, the battle soul sword left his hand and flew towards the demon lord. The demon lord's expression changed. It seemed to have realized the power of this sword art. The folding fan in its hand opened up and expanded rapidly, completely blocking the battle soul sword. However, Poochie! With a tearing sound, the folding fan was split into two. The demon lord was stunned for a moment. When it saw the sword light coming towards it, it hurriedly dodged it. However, its eyes quickly locked onto Tang Zheng. It shifted its position and coincidentally looked into Tang Zheng's eyes. Boom! Tang Zheng felt as if his soul had been severely injured, as if it was being torn apart. A wave of pain and trembling that came from the depths of his soul arose spontaneously. He secretly cursed. This was the effect of the demon lord's demonic soul extinguisher. Once it locked onto him, he was afraid that his fate would not be much different from the others. However, he did not give up. He hurriedly channeled his energy. However, this attack came from the soul. For a moment, he was unable to break free. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. He felt his entire body relax. He suddenly realized that this was his own voice. However, it was chanting the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Usually, in order to suppress the Shura, he would often need to chant the Ksitigarbha Sutra. He did not expect that this voice would suddenly appear in his mind. The ancients created a phrase, lingering for 3 days, lingering for 3 days. The voice chanting the Ksitigarbha Sutra was not as simple as lingering for 3 days. It was deeply imprinted in his soul. When his soul was attacked, the Ksitigarbha Sutra would be triggered. He suddenly realized that the members of the world of spirits and souls were originally spirits. As the Dzong of Goguryeu's most powerful technique, the Ksitigarbha Sutra was, of course, the best technique for cultivating the soul. It seemed reasonable that it could resist the demon lord's demonic eye soul extinguisher attack. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. He originally thought that the Ksitigarbha Sutra could only be used to suppress the Shura. Now it seemed that its effect was far greater than he thought. In fact, he was not wrong. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was a high-level technique for cultivating the soul. As he chanted it every day, the Ksitigarbha Sutra was gradually imprinted in his soul. Over time, his soul became stronger and stronger. Even when facing a soul-type attack, he could handle it with ease. The demon lord was very confident. He thought that this was a sure thing. He would definitely be able to get rid of Tang Zheng. However, he suddenly noticed that the corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up into a smile. His heart skipped a beat as he realized that something was wrong. An ominous premonition struck him. Before he could react, he found that there were 2 palms on his chest. Bang! Bang! As the 2 palms landed on his chest quickly caved in. Like a kite with a broken string, he fell into the sea, splashing water everywhere. Xiaobai was not surprised by this scene. He mumbled, "This demon lord is also an idiot. How dare he look down on my master? Now he has suffered the consequences of his own actions." The Scarlet Moon Beast rolled its eyes, as if to say that he was not as powerful as he said. Xiaobai's fiery golden eyes immediately noticed the look in the Scarlet Moon Beast's eyes. His eyes flashed as he asked, "You don't agree?" The Scarlet Moon Beast immediately denied, shaking its head like a rattledrum. "If you dare to disagree, I will roast you," Xiaobai threatened. The Scarlet Moon Beast lowered its head, feeling wronged. Xiaobai suddenly pointed at the sea and shouted, "Master, the demon lord is not dead yet. Look at the sea." There was a mark on the sea, and it was moving quickly towards the distance. Under the moonlight, it was very obvious. "You want to run away? Didn't you want to kill me?" Tang Zheng sneered. He flew on his sword and chased after it. "Let's go and have a look." Little White patted the back of the Scarlet Lunar Beast. The Scarlet Lunar Beast roared and rushed out of the ship, landing on the surface of the water. However, it did not sink. Instead, it stepped on the water and quickly chased after Little White. The others rushed out in fear, looking at the backs of the few from afar. The earth-shattering battle just now had completely changed their worldview, letting them experience another world outside of this one. They looked at each other, unable to calm down. Lu Qingmei's eyes lit up. She clenched her fists and locked on to the handsome figure in the air. Her beautiful eyes were filled with splendor. The two rushed towards the horizon, one after the other. The dark clouds in the sky moved to the top of their heads, and a storm was coming. Crack! A bolt of lightning tore through the dark clouds, and thunder rumbled. Heavy rain poured down, splashing onto the ground. Violent winds blew, setting off stormy waves. The originally calm sea surface was suddenly filled with wind and rain, turning into a scene of doomsday. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank. He drew his bow and said, "Do you want to hide under the water for the rest of your life? Come out." Swoosh! The shooting sun arrow left the bow and shot into the sea. Boom! A huge sound was heard, and huge waves appeared. A human figure broke out of the water and rushed into the sky, bringing with him a stream of blood. His body was covered in blood. Obviously, he had been injured by the shooting sun arrow. He floated in the air, staring at Tang Zheng from afar. He asked in disbelief, "How can you be so powerful?" Tang Zheng laughed. "There is no need to tell you. Tell me about the sky beyond sky, and I will let you die a quick death." Wishful thinking. The demon lord roared, and a black fog appeared on his body. In an instant, he merged with the darkness. It was very strange. "A little bastard from Kingsman wants to force me, the demon lord, to commit a crime? Impossible." Chapter 10:10. In the demon honorable's mind, Tang Zheng had once performed the heavenly fairy sword technique. Therefore, he had always considered Tang Zheng as someone from Kingsman. As for Kingsman, he did not take them seriously. This was because this sect was considered strong in the past. However, ever since they were banished to the outer sky, they had gradually declined. Now they were reduced to a third-rate sect. For a powerful sect like the demon race, they naturally did not take such a third-rate sect seriously. How ignorant. You still think that I'm from Kingsman? Tang Zheng snorted in disdain. The shooting sun arrow was placed on the heaven-shocking bow. And in that moment, the arrow had flickered with light, like a ray of starlight shining brightly in the night sky. Break! Tang Zheng roared. The shooting sun arrow pierced through the sky. The black fog behind the demon honorable surged, and turned into a wall, blocking the shooting sun arrow's path. Boom! The shooting sun arrow hit the black fog. The black fog shattered, and the shooting sun arrow fell into the sea. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Another 3 arrows were shot consecutively. They formed the shape of a triangle and shot towards the demon honorable in an orderly manner. The demon honorable was shocked and screamed. However, he slapped his own chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. This scene looked like self-mutilation. However, Tang Zheng did not think so. The demon honorable was forced into a corner and was about to give his all. Thus, he hurriedly made preparations for everything. As expected, the blood that he spat out floated in mid-air. The demon honorable's finger was stained with the blood. He quickly dropped it in mid-air. A pungent smell of blood rushed into the sky. Due to the storm, the smell of blood did not weaken. Instead, it became stronger. The demon honorable had a ferocious expression on his face. He shouted fiercely, "Soul stealing in the blood sea." As soon as he finished speaking, the sky turned red. Even the rain that fell from the dark clouds turned red like fresh blood. The rainwater fell into the sea and bubbled as if it was boiling. In an instant, the area below turned into a sea of blood. Fish floated on the surface of the sea with their bellies up, losing their lives. This area seemed to have turned into a sea of death, causing people to be intimidated. Bai and the red lunar beast were floating in the sea, but they were not affected. Bai was holding 2 shooting sun arrows in its claws. It had picked them up when they fell into the sea. Raising his head to look at the scene, Bai curled his lips. This demon lord is really not easy to deal with. If master is not strong enough later, you can't be lazy. You have to help master, do you hear me? This time, the red lunar beast agreed without hesitation. Bai happily praised, "Very good. Keep it up. Keep it up." 3 shooting sun arrows arrived in front of the demon venerable. The rain that fell from the sky suddenly stopped and gradually gathered in front of the demon lord. The seawater below also soared into the sky. The 2 blood-like streams of water merged and quickly intertwined into a giant hand, grabbing the 3 shooting sun arrows. Boom! Boom! After 3 explosions, the shooting sun arrows stopped and fell into the sea. Bai leaped up and snatched the shooting sun arrows back. As for the giant blood-red hand, it also fell apart. However, before Tang Zheng could be happy, the blood-red hand quickly gathered and protected the demon lord, blocking all possible attacks. Tang Zheng had a strange look in his eyes. This was a move that the demon lord had not used last time. Last time, he had mainly used the illusory god-devil realm and the demonic eye-soul extermination. Now that these 2 moves were useless against Tang Zheng, the demon lord had no choice but to change his attack pattern. Obviously, this move was not simple. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. What he didn't know was that the demon sovereign had to pay a huge price to use this move. The demon sovereign had to sacrifice his own life to use this move. Therefore, under normal circumstances, he would never use such a risky move. But now he had no choice but to do so. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult for him to escape. Now he still had a chance to live. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Even the lightning seemed to have been dyed red. Everything was strange. This time, Tang Zheng did not hold back. He shot out the remaining 4 shooting sun arrows. The 4 arrows were shot together with unparalleled power. Kill! The demon lord roared. His body was covered in a bloody light and could not be seen clearly. The pair of blood-red hands grew bigger and bigger. In the end, they almost occupied half of the sky and fell from the sky. Whoosh! The blood-red hand grabbed one of the shooting sun arrows and threw it down disdainfully. Following the same pattern, the remaining 3 shooting sun arrows were blocked one by one. A red light flashed and the blood-red hand exploded into pieces. Lines of blood also appeared on the demon lord's body. His body seemed to be dismembered. The blood merged with the blood around his body and fluctuated violently. Immediately, a blood-red hand appeared and grabbed at Tang Zheng. An invisible force seemed to have grabbed Tang Zheng's soul. Tang Zheng felt his body tighten. It was as if his soul was about to leave his body. He hurriedly chanted the Ksitigarbha Sutra. His soul immediately calmed down, and that feeling disappeared. The demon lord waited for a long time, and found that the blood-red hand was empty. It did not snatch away Tang Zheng's soul. This was too inconceivable. This was because even an early soul formation stage cultivator would find it extremely difficult to dodge this attack. They would not be able to dodge it as easily as Tang Zheng. The demon lord was puzzled. However, he already knew that something was wrong. This was because his body had reached a limit. If he continued to force himself, his blood would dry up, and he would die even if Tang Zheng did not attack him. His blood was like a flood that broke through a dam. It continued to flow out from the various wounds on his body, completely drenching his clothes and mixing with the rain and seawater outside. A hint of despair flashed through his heart, but he instantly reminded himself that he could not be so pessimistic. After all, the outcome had not been decided yet. Your soul attack is useless against me. Don't waste your energy. Tang Zheng roared. What kind of spell have you cultivated? How can you defend against my soul attack? The demon lord was unwilling to give up. He asked in a hoarse voice. Soul attacks had always been one of his strengths. Many people who were on the same level as him had died at his hands because of his soul attacks. This was also what he was most proud of. However, he did not expect that this series of attacks would be useless against Tang Zheng. The Ksitigarbha Sutra. Have you heard of it? Tang Zheng asked with a smile. The Ksitigarbha Sutra? The demon lord was confused. It was obvious that he had never heard of this spell. I bring back my sun shooting arrows. Tang Zheng had already seen Bai on the surface of the sea. Hence, he could shoot arrows without fear. He did not have to worry about losing the sun shooting arrows in the sea. Whiz! Bai carried the sun shooting arrows and soared into the sky from the scarlet lunar beast. His 4 hooves were on fire as he stepped on the flames. He was not afraid of the wind and rain at all as he arrived beside Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng took the 9 sun shooting arrows. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. He looked at the sun shooting arrows in his hand in shock. Although there were 9 sun shooting arrows, when combined together, it gave him the feeling that they were one. Could it be that not only can these 9 sun shooting arrows be separated, they can also be combined into one? With a thought, he immediately activated his innate chi and channeled it into the sun shooting arrows. However, there was no change. There's no reaction. Could it be that I guessed wrongly? He was confused, but he immediately denied this thought. His intuition should not be wrong, but there must be something wrong somewhere. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind, and he suddenly remembered something. All of his magic treasures had been recognized by blood, but only the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrows did not have this procedure, because he had done this before, but it was useless. He did not understand the reason, so he did not investigate further. Now that the 9 sun-shooting arrows were gathered, he gradually had a thought. Could it be that it was because he did not gather all of the sun-shooting arrows back then? It was equivalent to this magic treasure not being a whole, so it could not be recognized by blood. Then wouldn't it be fine now? With a thought, a drop of blood essence appeared from the tip of his finger and dripped onto the shooting sun arrow. He chanted the incantation for blood recognition, and immediately, the shooting sun arrow released a blood-red light. This light not only enveloped all the arrows, it also enveloped the heaven-shocking bow, and a mysterious power rippled out. What are you doing? The demon venerable asked in shock. Tang Zheng was excited, because his guess had finally been confirmed. In the past, he could not drip his blood to recognize his master because the sun-shooting arrows were not complete. Now that he had gathered a set of magic treasure, he could easily drip his blood to recognize his master. If not for the subtle feeling of having 9 sun-shooting arrows in his hands, he would not have thought of this. The light suddenly converged, and the sun-shooting arrows and heaven-shocking bow returned to their original state. However, in Tang Zheng's eyes, he still felt that there was something different. Master. A voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Tang Zheng was pleasantly surprised and asked, "You are an artifact spirit?" The heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrows were sacred artifacts, so they naturally had artifact spirits, so Tang Zheng was able to guess it immediately. "Yes, Master." Sure enough, the artifact spirit replied respectfully, "Can these 9 sun-shooting arrows be fused into one?" Tang Zheng asked the question in his heart. Of course. With that said, the sun-shooting arrow flashed, and the 9 arrows merged into one, turning into one sun-shooting arrow. This sun-shooting arrow did not seem to have anything special about it, but Tang Zheng knew that its power was definitely not the same as before. He was eager to give it a try, and raised his head to look at the Lord. The demon venerable's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad premonition and shouted, "What are you doing?" He had clearly seen the changes in the sun-shooting arrows, and naturally understood that this was not a good thing for him. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised and he said, "Just now you tried the power of each arrow, now I'll let you have a taste of the power of the 9 arrows." Done. The sun-shooting arrow was placed on the heaven-shocking bow. The bowstring was pulled into the shape of a full moon, aimed at the demon venerable, and released his fingers. Buzz. The bowstring released a heart-shaking sound, and the rain seemed to have frozen at this moment. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the raindrops, tore through the curtain of water formed by the interweaving rain, and shot towards the demon venerable. Chapter 10:11. When the demon venerable saw the shooting sun arrow flying towards him, he staggered backwards and tried to fight back. The blood in the air interweaved to form a water screen. However, with a tearing sound, the shooting sun arrow mercilessly tore a hole in the water screen. The shooting sun arrow accurately pierced through the demon venerable's chest. Everything froze. The demon marshal's body suddenly stiffened and maintained a strange posture. His eyes were filled with disbelief as his life force quickly disappeared. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream came from the depths of his throat. It was abnormally ear-piercing. Suddenly, the scream stopped abruptly. A large amount of blood spurted out from the gaps in his body like a fountain. Boom! Under the Great Lord's desperate gaze, a loud explosion occurred. The demon marshal's body turned into a rain of blood that drifted with the wind and fell into the sea. Tang Zheng was in a daze for a moment and was amazed. The power of 9 arrows combined into one was unimaginable. Furthermore, when the shooting sun arrow flew out, his connection with the shooting sun arrow was still very close. The shooting sun arrow floated in midair and did not fall into the sea like before. "Come back!" Tang Zheng called out, and the shooting sun arrow flew back into his hand with a so sound. He could freely control the shooting sun arrow as if he was controlling the war soul sword. This way he did not have to worry about losing the shooting sun arrow. This was an unexpected surprise of the blood recognition. Bai looked at this scene lazily and curled his lips. "What demon marshal? It's just SOSO. How can it be Master's opponent?" Tang Zheng's entire body relaxed as he laughed involuntarily and said, "Are you trying to flatter me?" Bai opened his mouth as if he was laughing. "Let's go down. Don't let the scarlet lunar beast escape." "How dare it? Roast it," Bai said fiercely. Tang Zheng laughed and looked at the rain that was gradually returning to normal. Although it was a storm in front of him, the wind and rain could not affect him at all. On the sea, the scarlet lunar beast did not run away. It only looked up at the scene in the sky. When it saw the demon marshal explode and die, its eyes flashed with shock. Seeing Tang Zheng and Bai descending from the sky, it quickly lowered its head and looked docile. Although it was arrogant by nature, after Bai's punishment, it understood who was stronger and who was weaker. Therefore, it instinctively chose to give in. Tang Zheng looked at the red lunar beast with satisfaction. It did not choose to run away, which was a wise decision. He believed that since Bai was so confident, it must have absolute confidence. Even if it ran away, there must be a way to get it back. If it really ran away, then Tang Zheng would definitely not be so courteous to it. Since the red lunar beast was so useful that even the demon lord wanted to snatch its inner core, if it was really rebellious, then Tang Zheng would definitely not keep a ticking time bomb by his side. He might even snatch its inner core. However, since it was so obedient and it was related to the red moon beast in the crystal, he would not touch it for the time being. Although he also urgently needed to increase his power, he was not as crazy as the demon sovereign. Let's go back to the yacht. The storm is going to hit the yacht soon. Tang Zheng rode on his sword while Bai rode on the back of the red lunar beast. It seemed to be getting used to being a mount as it swam back to the yacht without saying a word. On the yacht, everyone was anxiously waiting. As they were too far away and there were dark clouds, they could not see clearly what was happening in the middle of the night. Seeing that Tang Zheng had returned, they immediately went up to him and asked about the outcome. The threat has been eliminated. Don't worry, Tang Zheng said. Who is that person? What red lunar beast? What demon marshal? Someone asked curiously. Tang Zheng smiled and said, There's something that I have to tell you. This world is not as simple as you think it is. There are many unknown dangers. Therefore, it's best to forget what you've seen. Don't tell anyone about it, or else it won't do you any good. This sentence was a warning, but it also carried a threatening nature. Everyone heard it, and immediately, their faces became deathly pale. Tang Zheng was not being cruel. He was doing it for their own good. If they were to spread the news, they would be the ones who would be hurt in the end. Of course, he might be in some trouble, but he already had enough troubles. He did not care about one more. Du Qifeng's heart skipped a beat and his face became serious. He warned everyone sternly. Did you hear that? Young Master Tang is doing it for everyone's good. You must remember that. Otherwise, you'll be the ones who suffer in the end. If I hear anyone spreading rumors, I won't let them go. Everyone kept quiet out of fear and kept nodding their heads. What they had seen and heard along the way had completely shocked them. Although they were curious, no one would risk their lives to spread rumors. Tang Zheng nodded his head in satisfaction. This matter was finally over. Du Qifeng immediately asked someone to clean up the blood on the ground and the dead colleague. This time, they had lost 2 people and it was a shadow in everyone's heart. Whoosh! The wind blew and the storm finally swept over. The yacht shook with the breaking waves. The rainstorm hit the yacht and made a crackling sound. Tang Zheng's face sank. His right foot gently stamped on the deck. With a bang, the big ship sank down as if it had been hit by a huge force. It shook violently and stopped immediately. The yacht seemed to have taken root in the sea. No matter how turbulent the waves were, they could not do anything to the yacht. Early in the morning, the storm finally stopped. The wind and rain washed away the killing and blood of last night. The sun shone and the sea breeze blew, bringing a fresh smell. For what happened last night, everyone chose to keep their mouths shut. No one mentioned it or asked Tang Zheng about it. Everyone was eager to return to the land. At noon, the yacht finally docked. Several luxury cars had been waiting at the dock for a long time. Tang Zheng, Lu Qingmei, Du Qifeng, Wang Guanquan and Xiao Xiaoling got in a car. Bai and the Red Moon Beast naturally followed. The Red Moon Beast was as big as a leopard. It was majestic and looked at the colorful world in amazement. It had been on the bottom of the sea since it was born. It had never left the sea. In the face of this colorful world, there was some confusion in its eyes. It was even more difficult to hide its excitement. It sniffed left and right. Bai scornfully curled his lips and said, "You are really ignorant." The Red Moon Beast rolled its eyes and did not dare to refute. Fortunately, there were too many local tyrants who raised some strange pets, so even if the Red Moon Beast was a bit strange, it did not cause too much reaction from strangers. At most, they just looked at it a few more times. This made Tang Zheng feel relieved. If the Red Moon Beast was too eye-catching, he would definitely not hesitate to take it into Sumeru World. The car came to a high-end hotel. Delicious food was waiting for them. This was Du Qifeng's arrangement. Tang Zheng did not object. At the dining table, Du Qifeng was very good at livening up the atmosphere. The gloominess on the sea was swept away. Both the guests and the host enjoyed themselves. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Tang Zheng did not beat around the bush. He said directly, "Director Du, it's fate that we met this time. If there's anything that you need help with, just tell me. If there's anything that I can help with, I'll do my best." Since Du Qifeng was so attentive, he must have a request. Du Qifeng looked at Tang Zheng gratefully. If Tang Zheng did not take the initiative to mention it, he would not have dared to mention it after so many things had happened. At that moment he was relieved. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, young Master Tang. Then, I won't be long-winded. I heard a rumor that there was a magical pill called the life-extending pill in the capital last year. It was made by young Master Tang. May I know if young Master Tang still has such a magical pill? Life-extending pill? Tang Zheng frowned. Ever since the world of spirits and souls rebounded, he had almost given up the idea of using the life-extending pill. He did not expect Du Qifeng to mention it. Seeing Tang Zheng's reaction, Du Qifeng's heart sank. He said bitterly, "If it's inconvenient for young Master Tang, then forget it." Alas! Tang Zheng took a deep look at Du Qifeng and asked, "What's the matter with you first?" A touch of joy flashed through Du Qifeng's eyes. He seemed to see a glimmer of hope again. He said, "My wife has a strange disease. The doctors don't have much time left. I was desperate, but I didn't expect that there would be a way to meet young Master Tang. So I asked young Master Tang for the life-extending pill to save my wife's life." Lu Qingmei's heart softened. She said first, "I didn't expect Director Du to be so affectionate. Although your wife is sick, she must be very happy. Alas, she suffered too much when she was with me. If I just watch her leave like this, I'm really not a man." Du Qifeng shook his head and sighed. As a woman, Lu Qingmei was very easily moved by this kind of thing. She held Tang Zheng's hand and said, "If you have a way, please help Director Du." "Thank you, Sister Lu." Du Qifeng was very grateful. He knew very well how important Lu Qingmei was. With her words, Tang Zheng would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Sure enough, Tang Zheng nodded. "Director Du is a man who values affectionate and righteousness. I admire you very much. I will help you, but I don't have the life-extending pill." The life-extending pill could extend one's life. It was related to the ghost realm, so he didn't want to use it easily. There were many ways to save people. It was not necessary to use the life-extending pill. Hearing that there was no life-extending pill, a touch of despair flashed through Du Qifeng's eyes. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly said, "Director Du, don't worry. Listen to me. Although I don't have the life-extending pill, it's not difficult to cure diseases and save people. I'll recommend a person to you. He is the divine hand of Xing Lin. I think he can help your wife." "Who is it?" "The King of Medicine." "The King of Medicine? Isn't his whereabouts uncertain? Where can I find him?" Hearing this name, Du Qifeng's eyes lit up. He had thought of looking for the King of Medicine, but this person was elusive. With his level, he couldn't find the King of Medicine. Tang Zheng smiled faintly. Of course, he knew where the King of Medicine was. He was studying medicine in Tang Zheng's pharmaceutical company. This old man was obsessed with medicine. He was obsessed with the life-extending pill provided by Tang Zheng. He wouldn't give up until he thoroughly studied it. "I'll ask him to contact you. If it still doesn't work, I'll think of another way," Tang Zheng promised. Chapter 10-12. After dinner, a group of people parted ways. Tang Zheng, Lu Qingmei, and Xiao Xiaoling returned to the capital, and the others followed Du Qifeng and left. Along the way, Xiao Xiaoling drove, but he was very silent. Tang Zheng and Lu Qingmei sat in the back seat, while the Red Moon Beast and Xiaobai sat in the front seat. The Red Moon Beast had retracted its head, and it no longer looked at the Grand View Garden like Granny Lu. It had a new understanding of the world, and seemed to be lost in thought. Little White lazily laid on its body, using it as a cushion. The sunlight shone in from the window and shone on its snow-white fur, making it look like the most precious satin. As for the red fur on its forehead, it looked like it was about to burn. Tang Zheng glanced at Xiao Xiaoling, who was driving, and said, "After returning to the capital, I will give you a task. You go and find Song Yu and the other people of the Sword Pavilion. Now you are a master warrior. It's no problem to deal with Song Yu, right?" Xiao Xiaoling pondered for a moment and replied without turning his head, "Yes." Tang Zheng didn't expect Xiao Xiaoling to be loyal. As long as he didn't violate his promise, he was still very confident about this. This task was also equivalent to a test. If he really failed, he would stand aside forever in the future. At present, Tang Zheng was not short of manpower. A master warrior didn't have much value to him. The car stopped at the door of the house. Hearing the sound, the others came out. Feng Shishir saw Xiao Xiaoling and couldn't help exclaiming, "Why are you here?" The original trip to Dianan left a deep impression on her, so she still remembered Xiao Xiaoling. Xiao Xiaoling narrowed his eyes and recognized Feng Shishir. He looked at Lu Qingmei thoughtfully, but he didn't say anything. "You go." Tang Zheng waved his hand. Xiao Xiaoling didn't say a word, turned around and left. "Isn't he a killer? Why is he with you?" Feng Shishir frowned and asked. "I have taken him under my command." "I see." Feng Shishir suddenly understood and looked at Lu Qingmei thoughtfully, trying to guess what had happened between the two. Although Lu Qingmei was shy, she still greeted everyone gracefully. When they entered the room, the people in the room began to ask questions. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to answer. Instead he asked, "Where's Grandpa? Why don't I see him?" "Grandpa is living next door. Uncle and Auntie are also living with him," Feng Shishir said. It turned out that after the old man came to the capital, he felt that it was a novelty at first, but later on, he found a room full of girls swaying in front of him, dazzling him. The old man liked peace and quiet. In the end, he suggested that they move out. How could Feng Shishir and the others agree? However, they couldn't resist the old man's insistence. In the end, they decided to move out on their own, but the old man vetoed it. They had no choice but to buy the villa next door for the old man to live in. When Wu Junshan and Lan Yu saw this, they were worried that the old man would be lonely, so they took the initiative to move in together. "It's all our fault. We're too noisy every day and disturb Grandpa," Feng Shishir said guiltily. "It's not your fault. I'm going to see Grandpa. I'll be back in a while." Tang Zheng came next door and found the three of them sitting under the shade of a tree in the backyard drinking tea. Wu Dang acted as a waiter serving tea. When she saw Tang Zheng, her eyes were filled with surprise. "You came back so quickly. Why didn't you call in advance?" Wu Dang intimately ran over. Tang Zheng hugged her slender waist. Seeing the other three turn their heads, he said without blushing, "Grandpa, I'm back." Tang Dahai happily stood up and amiably looked at the pair and said, "It's good that you're back. Everyone is talking about you." Wu Junshan and Lan Yu also looked at him with surprise. Especially Lan Yu. Her eyes were extremely soft and emitted a motherly radiance. Tang Zheng nodded to the two of them and said, "Thank you for accompanying Grandpa." Lan Yu rebuked, "We're all family. There's no need to say thank you. The old man is a very interesting person. Listening to him talk about your childhood is very interesting." "Hee hee, that's because you don't mind this old man's nagging," Tang Dahai said with a gratified smile. Tang Zheng looked deeply at Wu Junshan and Lan Yu. Regardless of whether their words were true or false, their actions of accompanying the old man made him very grateful. "There shouldn't be any danger this time, right?" Tang Dahai asked. "There's no danger. I just went out for a stroll. Reading 10,000 books, walking 10,000 miles. Isn't this what the ancients said? Going out for a walk is always right. All right, you don't have to accompany this old man. There must be someone waiting for you. Hurry up and go." Tang Dahai waved his hand and said. Tang Zheng supported the old man and said, "Grandpa is joking. Where would there be someone waiting?" Tang Dahai glared at him. "Don't think that I can't see with my old eyes. Hurry up and go. I'll drink tea with the two of them and chat." "All right, then I'll go over first. I'll call you when it's time to eat." Tang Zheng nodded towards Wu Junshan and Lan Yu, then turned and left. Wu hurriedly said, "Grandfather, master, mistress, I'll go over first." Lan Yu laughed involuntarily. "Go, a grown girl can't be kept." Wu's cheeks were slightly red, but she still held on to Tang Zheng's arm and happily walked out. Tang Dahai looked deeply at Wu Junshan and Lan Yu, and said meaningfully, "Don't worry, little Zheng is a reasonable child. He will definitely understand your good intentions. Just give him some time, and he will figure it all out." Tang Dahai was very clear about the thoughts of the two. In the past, he was worried that his grandson would be snatched away, but now he understood that this worry was unnecessary. No matter who it was impossible for them to snatch Tang Zheng away from him. Therefore, from the bottom of his heart, He hoped that Tang Zheng would be able to reconcile with his parents. He was willing to be the bridge between them. Lan Yu emotionally said, "Thank you, old master, for your understanding. We will definitely work even harder to obtain his forgiveness. We are willing to wait." Wu Junshan also firmly nodded his head. When Tang Zheng returned home, he was surrounded by a group of beauties, chattering nonstop. On the other hand, the Empyrean fairy was very quiet. She looked at the scarlet moon beast in the eyes and fell into deep thought. With the Empyrean fairy's eyes, she could naturally see that the scarlet moon beast was not an ordinary creature. Therefore, she was very curious as to why Tang Zheng went out and brought back such a fellow. When Xiaobai returned home, he was caught by Nana. Little girls had no resistance towards this kind of cute thing. Xiaobai wanted to break free, but was unable to escape. The scarlet moon beast rejoiced in his misfortune, as if it was saying that there was finally someone who could help it vent its anger. "Nana, quickly let go of me. I can't breathe." Xiaobai finally could not help but scream. This voice immediately silenced the house. Everyone's gaze turned to Xiaobai, especially Nana. Like a frightened rabbit, she threw Xiaobai outside and turned around to jump into Tang Zheng's arms. She cried out in fear, "It's talking." Tang Zheng laughed. "Didn't you see Little Black on the island? Doesn't it know how to talk too?" Little Black was the thundercloud beast. Nana raised her head as if she had been enlightened. She tilted her head and said, "Yes, Little Black can talk too. All the animals in our house can talk. It's not scary at all." After she finished speaking, she turned around and rushed toward Xiaobai. Xiaobai was about to run away, but Nana quickly caught it. Her pair of small hands kept rubbing on its body as she shouted excitedly, "Xiaobai, say something again. Say that you like Nana." Xiaobai rolled its eyes as if it was saying that it was childish. Nana did not let it go. She pulled its mouth and urged, "Xiaobai, say it now." Looking at Xiaobai's hopeless look, Tang Zheng could not help but laugh even louder. Nana seemed to be showing signs of turning into a violent loli. Even the majestic Xiaobai could not resist her. Of course, it was not that Xiaobai was weaker than her. It knew that Nana was one of them, so it did not argue with her. Seeing this, the red lunar beast gloated even more. Its eyes were almost overflowing with joy. Xiaobai looked around and immediately saw its eyes. The red lunar beast shrunk its neck, as if it was a mouse that saw a cat. It quickly hid to the side. Seeing this, the rest of the people could not help but laugh. With these two fellows in the house, it seemed to be a lot more fun. The Empyrean fairy looked at the red lunar beast, and then looked at Xiaobai. She asked, "You've gained a lot this time. What's its background? Why can't I tell?" Seeing that she was pointing at the red lunar beast, Tang Zheng told her the truth. "Its name is the red lunar beast. It's a creature from the outland. That's why you haven't seen it before." Back then, when he brought the crystal back, he did not show it to the Empyrean fairy. Naturally, she did not know about the red lunar beast. However, Feng Shishir had seen it before. That was why she was shocked when she saw the red lunar beast. However, the crystal was very important, so she did not mention it in front of the others, and had never seen the crystal before. Naturally, she did not know about the red lunar beast that was sealed in it. Of course, she did not have much of a reaction. "It's from the outland?" The Empyrean fairy was shocked. She stared at the red lunar beast with a sharp gaze. The scarlet lunar beast quickly retreated. It felt threatened by the gaze of that person. "Yes. That's why it's an important way for us to understand the outland." Tang Zheng nodded. The Empyrean fairy was also very curious about the outland. She walked towards the red lunar beast step by step. The red lunar beast roared. Its forehooves moved as if it was flying. It leaped into the air and scurried away. However, the Empyrean fairy was faster. She stretched out her hand and grabbed the red lunar beast's tail. No matter how hard it struggled, it could not break free. The Empyrean fairy grabbed the red lunar beast's neck. She narrowed her eyes slightly as if she was trying to see through it. Roar! The red lunar beast kept roaring as if it was protesting. However, its strength was not as strong as the Empyrean fairy. Everything it did was in vain. "Don't hurt little Yu. Xiaobai finally broke free from Nana. He rushed onto the red lunar beast and rode on its back. He shook his head at the Empyrean fairy and said, "Little Yu is my trophy." Little Yu? Everyone looked at the red lunar beast strangely. The name did not match its ferocious appearance at all. It made them want to laugh. Chapter 10:13. Because of Bai and the red lunar beast, the atmosphere was a little funny. Especially when they heard the name Yu, everyone was laughing. The red lunar beast wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. Tangjun glanced at Anne. Since the red lunar beast was related to the crystal, it was not appropriate for it to appear in front of her. Hence, he signaled the Empyrean fairy with his eyes. The Empyrean fairy understood what he meant. She swallowed the question that she wanted to ask and looked at him meaningfully. The Empyrean fairy let go of her hand, and the red lunar beast ran away. Bai hopped on its back and patted its head. Then, they quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Tangjun went to the backyard, and the others left. Only the Empyrean fairy followed him. She asked softly, "You didn't finish talking just now. What happened? Do you still remember that Xianin sealed herself?" Tangjun asked. The Empyrean fairy nodded quietly. "Actually, I've seen such a seal before." Tangjun told her about his discovery in the Swedish palace. The Empyrean fairy was enlightened. She subconsciously turned her head and looked into the house. "So, you're trying to avoid Anne. You're afraid that she'll know that you stole the crystal from her house." Tangjun shrugged and said, "The crystal is very important, especially the red lunar beast. Of course, I have to be careful. This time we saw the red lunar beast at the bottom of the sea, and there was even a skeleton of the red lunar beast. There must be something that happened in the sea. If we can figure it out, we might be able to solve the mystery of outer sky." The red lunar beast can't talk. What can we do? Unless we wake the red lunar beast in the crystal. The Empyrean fairy had an idea and said, "Yes." Tangjun's eyes lit up. The red lunar beast in the crystal is not dead. I wonder what will happen if we let the two red lunar beasts meet. That's a good idea. It's worth a try, the Empyrean fairy agreed. Then there's no time to lose. I will bring the red lunar beast to the island tomorrow, and meet with the other red lunar beast. I'll go with you. Tangjun looked at her deeply and nodded in agreement. Didn't you take many treasure chests in the sea? Are there any clues? The Empyrean fairy asked. Tangjun shook his head. I've already checked with my divine sense. These treasure chests don't contain any skeletons. They're all filled with jewels. The skeleton in the previous treasure chest was probably just a coincidence. The Empyrean fairy was slightly disappointed. It was the same for Tangjun. When he first heard about the red lunar beast from the demon lord, he had a thought. Is the inner core left behind by the skeleton still there? He specifically asked Wang Guanxuan, and found out that there were no inner cores in the treasure chests that they fished up. The inner core was probably the same as the corpse. It had already rotted and fused into the sea. He then remembered the unusual great white shark. Perhaps the great white shark had absorbed the energy released by the red lunar beast after it rotted, causing it to mutate and increase its strength by a lot. I'm afraid no one knew that the corpse of the red lunar beast had such a great use back then. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been buried at the bottom of the sea and wasted. Tangjun sighed inwardly. That night, after everyone had dinner together, Tangjun returned to his room. Just as he laid on the bed, the voices of the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrow artifact spirit sounded in his mind. Master, there's something I need to tell you. What's the matter? Tangjun asked in surprise. After I woke up, I found a set of archery techniques. I wonder if Master would like to know. Archery? Yes, Hoi's archery. This archery technique has always been sealed in my body, and I only discovered it not long ago. Tangjun's eyes lit up, and he immediately sat up from the bed. The heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrow were the weapons used by the ancient martial empress Yi to shoot down the sun. He never thought that there would actually be a set of Hoi's sword technique sealed within. Hoi was a martial king, and if he could even shoot down the sun, then this set of Hoi's archery was naturally not ordinary. Thus, Tangjun could not wait. What kind of archery technique is it? Quickly tell me. Master will naturally understand once he sees it. With that said, a thought flashed through Tang Zheng's mind, and there was one more thing. Hoi's archery. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up, and carefully browsed through this set of Hoi's archery. This was created by Hoi himself, and was a set of archery martial arts mental cultivation method. However, without a doubt, when paired with Hoi's archery, it would definitely be able to unleash the power of the sun-shooting arrow and the heaven-shocking bow. Martial arts? If that's the case, wouldn't I be unable to cultivate? Tang Zheng turned pale. He was a cultivator. How could he cultivate martial arts? This was a matter of common sense. He shook his head, suppressing the disappointment in his heart. Back then, just what kind of person was Hoi to be able to create this set of Hoi's archery technique? Although I can't cultivate it, if I meet a fated person, I will pass it down, and it can be considered as not letting Hoi's archery technique disappear from the world. Master, is this set of archery useful? The artifact spirit asked. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and comforted. Thank you, it's useful. After resting for the night, Yi Dingdang did not climb up his window again. This was because she had been called back by Feng Xingyang after dinner last night. She had stayed here for almost the entire summer vacation, and as school was nearing, Feng Xingyang finally could not help but want to be alone with her daughter for a period of time. No one else had the guts as big as Yi Dingdang, so he was able to have a peaceful sleep. Early in the morning, and scream rang out. Tang Zheng got up like a carp and rushed out, thinking that something had happened, but he saw An in front of the fish tank crying out in grief. My fish, where are my fish? Where did they go? Last night before I went to sleep, they were clearly in the fish tank, and I even fed them. How could they disappear? The few precious ornamental fish in the fish tank were specially flown in by and from her own country. After all, she was a princess, and the aristocratic style in her bones would be revealed no matter where she was. Some time ago, she felt that the huge living room was too empty and monotonous, so she became a designer herself, and redecorated it, adding a lot of ornaments, and that huge fish tank and the ornamental fish in it were one of them. But she did not expect that the fish would disappear early in the morning. How could she not be angry? Tang Zheng thought that something big had happened, but it turned out that it was just a few fish, and he could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. When An saw him, she pounced on him like a butterfly, took his arm, and said with grievance, Tang Zheng, you must investigate for me, find my fish, and punish the murderer severely. Looking at her towering chest rubbing against his arm, Tang Zheng's heart was restless, but when he saw the strange gazes of the others, he quickly suppressed this thought and said righteously, This is our home, we can ask the disciples of the witch clan who are guarding outside to see if anyone has barged in. I've already asked, no one broke in at all. Moreover, if someone really came with so many masters, how could they not find him? Tang Zheng secretly nodded his head. What Annie said was right. If someone really barged in, even he and the mysterious Lady of the Nine Heavens would not be able to discover them. Then it could only mean that the other party's cultivation was ridiculously high, and there should not be such an expert in this world. Moreover, even if there was an enemy, it would not be just for a few fish. There must be something fishy going on. Tang Zheng's face turned grave, and he began to ponder. He looked left and right, then asked, Is there anything else that's missing? No. The rest shook their heads. Tang Zheng's eyebrows furrowed even deeper. This was strange. Could it be that the fish grew wings and flew away on its own? Was that not nonsense? His gaze swept over every corner and every person, inch by inch. Suddenly, when he glanced at the red lunar beast, it subconsciously retreated and hid in the corner. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, and he strode toward the red lunar beast. The red lunar beast trembled in fear, and it retreated step by step. Everyone immediately noticed this strange scene, and even Bai jumped out and sat on the red lunar beast's back. It scratched its back with its claws and asked, Why are you running? Master won't eat you. The red lunar beast had a complicated look in its eyes, and it was trembling. Tang Zheng asked loudly, Yeah, I'll be lenient if you confess, but I'll be strict if you resist. Did you eat those fish? The red lunar beast howled, and it wanted to shake its head to deny it. However, when it looked at Tang Zheng, it stopped and turned back into its head. Ah! Everyone was shocked, but they also realized that the red lunar beast was the thief who stole the fish. Tang Zheng smirked. The red lunar beast lived in the deep sea all year round, and it probably ate fishes and prawns. Tang Zheng had forgotten about that, so he did not feed it any food. Bai had always been like that, and it rarely ate anything. He did not expect the red lunar beast to be a foodie, and it ate those fishes secretly in the middle of the night, and was shocked when the culprit came out of the water, and she was furious. She rushed over and shouted, "How could you eat my fish? You're so pitiful." The red lunar beast felt wronged. It had been eating fish all its life. Who told it that it could not eat fish? It was not something valuable. However, looking at the furious ant, the red lunar beast chose to retreat. It's just a few fishes, right? What's the big deal? Bai suddenly raised its head and shouted at, and to protect the red lunar beast, and stopped and looked at Tang Zheng pitifully. Those are my favorite fishes, she felt wronged. Looking at her, Tang Zheng's head went soft. Like magic, a pearl necklace appeared in his hand. This is for you. Take it as my compensation for your fish. Anne's wronged voice suddenly stopped. She immediately took the necklace, and her worry turned into joy. She cheered. This is the first gift you've given me. I'm so happy. At that moment, she threw the matter of the fish to the back of her mind. Help me put it on. Tang Zheng could not persuade her, so he could only put the necklace on for her. She turned around and asked, "How is it? Is it pretty?" Chapter 10:14. Favoring one over another was a taboo, so Tang Zheng naturally had to do his best to remedy the situation. Luckily, he had a lot of jewels, so he took out a few and gave them to everyone, appeasing the crowd, and pouted unhappily, but there was nothing she could do. However, she kept comforting herself that he was the first to give her a present, and the others were just supplementary gifts. Only then was she satisfied and happy. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean Fairy once again went to the backyard and activated the teleportation circle. The two of them, Xiaobai, and the scarlet lunar beast disappeared into thin air. Luckily, the walls of the backyard were tall and there were big trees blocking the view, so no one saw this scene. Otherwise, they would have been scared out of their wits. The scene in front of them changed, and they appeared on an island. The sea breeze blew, making them feel relaxed and happy. The Empyrean Fairy looked around and said, "This is your base?" As soon as she finished speaking, a huge black shadow flew over from the sky and dove down. The crackling sound of lightning could be heard. Thundercloud Beast. The Empyrean Fairy looked up and recognized it. A ball of lightning suddenly formed in the sky, but when she saw who it was, the ball of lightning disappeared in the air. The Thundercloud Beast quickly shrank and flew to Tang Zheng's side and stopped. "Little Black, how are you?" Xiaobai excitedly called out to the Thundercloud Beast, as if he was reuniting with an old friend. The Scarlet Lunar Beast growled in a low voice, full of hostility towards the Thundercloud Beast. "You can talk?" The Thundercloud Beast looked at Xiaobai in shock. "Of course. In the future you can listen to my orders, just like Little Yu. Little White swaggered as if he was giving orders. He was full of heroism and had the aura of a leader. The Thundercloud Beast looked at the Scarlet Lunar Beast and asked, "What is it?" "It's called Little Yu, the Scarlet Lunar Beast." Scarlet Lunar Beast. The Thundercloud Beast remembered this name for the first time. Looking at these little animals, the Empyrean Fairy joked, "Are you going to become a zoo?" Thundercloud Beast, Qiansui Gue Red Moon Beast, and the mysterious Xiaobai. "Hee, these are just a few animals. How is this a zoo?" As he spoke, the elder led the disciples of the witch tribe over quickly. Sensing the mana fluctuations here, he guessed that it must be the arrival of the Lord Emissary. "Greetings, Lord Envoy." Everyone bowed. "There's no need to be so polite. Elder, take us to the Holy Land." Tang Zheng went straight to the point. It had only been a few days, but the great emissary had returned and headed straight for the Holy Land. He had even brought along an outsider like the Empyrean Fairy. This had surprised the elders, and they could not help but speculate about the great emissary's true intentions. However, when he saw the Scarlet Lunar Beast, he could not help but gasp in shock. Although Little Yu was small in size, the elder and the others recognized her at a glance. The elder hurriedly asked, "Lord Emissary, what is going on?" Tang Zheng waved his hand, indicating for everyone to calm down and said, I came here specifically for it. Let's talk about it after we get to the Holy Land. Yes, Lord Emissary, please. The elder was uneasy. His gaze continued to sweep across little Yu Yu's body, causing her to bare her teeth and stare fiercely at the elder. The Holy Land. The cultivators and the other disciples of the witch tribe had all been dismissed, leaving only Tang Zheng, the other two and the three beasts. When they saw the crystal, Xiaobai and little Yu Yu were confused. They did not know the purpose of this trip, nor did they know that there was a scarlet lunar beast sealed in it. The Empyrean fairy also looked at the huge crystal curiously. The surging energy coming from it was so clear that it made her feel excited. With just one look, she could determine the value of this crystal. Is it inside? The Empyrean fairy pointed at the crystal and asked. Tang Zheng nodded his head and confidently walked over. He placed both of his palms on the crystal and activated his martial arts, causing a surge of energy to flow from the crystal into his body. Immediately, the crystal gradually became transparent and a figure became clearer. The Empyrean fairy looked at this scene in shock. When she saw the tall scarlet lunar beast, her eyes lit up. It was indeed a genuine scarlet lunar beast. Little Yu Yu was originally absent-minded with her head lowered. However, when she saw the scarlet lunar beast in the crystal, her eyes immediately widened and she stared at it in shock. There's a scarlet lunar beast in here too. Little Yu Yu, it's the same kind as you. Xiaobai shouted in shock. Little Yu Yu acted as if she did not hear him and walked towards the crystal. Xiaobai wanted to stop her but was stopped by Tang Zheng in time. Everyone's eyes were glued to this scene. The elder's heart beat wildly. Where did the Lord Emissary find this strange beast? What would happen next? Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy did not know what would happen next, but they were looking forward to it. Time seemed to have stopped and space seemed to have stopped. Little Yu Yu walked in front of the crystal and extended her claws to touch the crystal. An ice-cold sensation came over, and its eyes changed in an instant. A strange color bloomed in its pupils. However, all of this ended very quickly. The light in little Yu Yu's eyes gradually disappeared, replaced by disappointment. She put down her claws dejectedly. All of this was in vain. The sealed scarlet lunar beast did not change at all. Although both parties were of the same species, little Yu Yu did not cause any reaction at all. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy looked at each other and could not hide the disappointment in each other's eyes. They muttered, "It seems that we were too optimistic." There was no reaction or change at all. The Empyrean fairy sighed and shook her head. The elder saw this and asked curiously, "Lord Emissary, what is going on?" "Its name is the Scarlet Lunar Beast. It is a creature from the outer sky. We want to know about the outer sky from them, but little Yu Yu does not know anything. So we want to see if something will happen when it meets its kind. Then it can give us some information," Tang Zheng said. The elder suddenly understood. He looked at the two scarlet lunar beasts and said, "It seems that this method will not work." Xiaobai heard this and said disapprovingly, "Master, what's so difficult about this? Let me help you break this thing." Just as he finished speaking, a white figure leaped out. With a bang, a small claw hit the crystal. With a rumbling sound, the crystal shook violently, but did not shatter. Xiaobai looked at this scene in disbelief. It knew the power of this attack very well, but it could not hurt the crystal at all. "Damn it! Xiaobai, don't mess around." Tang Zheng tried to stop it, but before he could finish, his eyes widened. He looked at the crystal in disbelief and saw the scarlet lunar beast move. Its eyes shone brightly as it tried to touch Xiaobai. The scarlet lunar beast had never moved before. It was as if it was a statue. This was the first time. It's alive. Xiaobai was not afraid. Instead, he was surprised to see the scarlet lunar beast's reaction. However, the scarlet lunar beast could not really touch Xiaobai because of the crystal. Its eyes were filled with surprise and respect as it stared at Xiaobai. Xiaobai also stared at it with his round eyes. The scarlet lunar beast gradually lowered its head under Xiaobai's gaze. In the end, it even crawled on the ground with its front legs as if it was kowtowing. Xiaobai looked at the scene blankly. He turned his head and asked Tang Zheng, "Master, what is it doing?" Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy were shocked. Only the elder's reaction was less. In his mind, Xiaobai was the sorcerer tribe's sacred beast and had a noble status. It was only right for the scarlet lunar beast to kowtow to him. However, Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy thought more. The scarlet lunar beast was not an ordinary creature. It was a creature from beyond the heavens. Why would it kowtow to a sorcerer tribe's sacred beast in the human world? There were too many unsolved mysteries. Even little you could not trigger its reaction. However, Xiaobai's casual actions could trigger such a huge reaction from it. It was too bizarre. Tang Zheng rushed over and asked, Xiaobai, try to recall. Do you remember its existence? Xiaobai tilted his head. He did not seem to understand what Tang Zheng meant. After thinking for a long time, he shook his head blankly. No, I have never seen it before. Master, why is it moving? It was alive in the first place. I used to think that it couldn't move, but now it seems that it disdains to move. Even little you couldn't elicit a reaction from it. On the contrary, you are a pleasant surprise. Then what is it doing? Xiaobai asked suspiciously. Tang Zheng looked deeply at the scarlet lunar beast. He realized that it was still crawling with its head on its front legs. It was very respectful. He said thoughtfully, It is kowtowing to you. It seems that it knows you. I have never seen it before. How would it know me? Xiaobai was confused. He could not figure out the complicated inside story. It does not know you. However, it definitely knows your kind. Oh, I see. Master, didn't you always want to know my origin? Won't everything be revealed if you let it out? Tang Zheng shook his head, his expression darkened, and said, It's not as easy as you say. You tried it just now. This spar is very sturdy. It can't be broken at all. You can only let it out after absorbing all the energy of this spar. Xiaobai was very disappointed. That is so troublesome. Doesn't that mean we won't be able to find the answer for now? Tang Zheng laughed instead. Even so, we are still one step closer to the answer. This scarlet moon beast knows your origin, so as long as we work hard to absorb all the energy in this crystal, won't everything come to light? Xiaobai's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, Master is right. Xiaobai also wants to know his origin. Tang Zheng, I have an idea. Suddenly, the Empyrean fairy said. Tang Zheng turned his head. What idea? Since this scarlet lunar beast and Xianyin conceal themselves, you can release Xianyin and see if they will react to each other. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. Smart. This was a great idea. Since they both came from the sky beyond heaven and were still alive, he wondered how they would react to each other. Therefore, he used his mind to summon the crystal that sealed Xianyin. The scarlet lunar beast seemed to have sensed something. It raised its head and looked at the crystal in front of it. Chapter 10:15. Seeing the scarlet lunar beast raise its head to look at him, Tang Zheng's lips curled up into a smile. He placed both of his hands on the crystal, and a surge of energy immediately entered his body. The crystal turned transparent and Xuanyin's beautiful figure immediately appeared. The scarlet lunar beast's eyes immediately widened. It bared its teeth and its eyes were burning with fire, as if it had seen its nemesis. Ah! Everyone was shocked by this scene. The human and beast obviously knew each other, and they seemed to be enemies. Since the scarlet lunar beast hated Xianyin so much, what kind of grudge did they have? The scarlet lunar beast kept hitting the crystal with its claws. However, it was useless as it could not break the seal of the crystal. Tang Zheng frowned. The scarlet lunar beast could not break the crystal, but Xianyin could. The two of them looked similar, but there was a huge difference. Why was that? Xianyin opened her eyes and looked at the scarlet lunar beast in shock. Her gaze was complicated. Tang Zheng looked at her and said, Xianyin, why don't we come out and have a chat? What is your relationship with the scarlet lunar beast? Xianyin looked at him as if to say, Don't treat me like a fool. Obviously, she would not come out. Do you want to be a coward? You are a consecrator of the Azure Dragon Palace. And you are from the sky beyond heaven. Don't you think it's embarrassing? Tang Zheng tried to provoke her to come out. However, all of this was futile. It had no effect at all. Master, who is she? Xiaobai asked as it was the first time he saw Xianyin. Xianyin's gaze fell on Xiaobai, but she did not have much of a reaction. She was completely different from the scarlet lunar beast. This made Tang Zheng very confused. Xianyin and the scarlet lunar beast were both from the sky beyond heaven. However, the scarlet lunar beast knew Xiaobai. Why couldn't Xianyin recognize him? Tang Zheng shook his head, feeling somewhat disappointed. Now he could confirm that Xianyin and the scarlet lunar beast knew each other, and there was quite a bit of enmity between them. As for the specific details, only those involved would know. Seeing that the red lunar beast was getting more and more irritable, and its eyes were about to spit fire, Tang Zheng said to Xianyin, "Since you want to be a coward, I'll let you be." With a wave of his hand, Xianyin was sucked back into Sumeru world. Only then did the scarlet moon beast calm down. Its anger slowly subsided. However, it still looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. It was as if it was asking him to release it quickly. "You want to come out? I don't have a better idea. You can only regain your freedom after absorbing all the energy in this crystal." Tang Zheng said helplessly as he knew what the red lunar beast was thinking. Initially, he was worried that the red lunar beast would be in trouble after it was freed. However, looking at its attitude toward Xiaobai, his worries were obviously unnecessary. If Xiaobai could intimidate the red lunar beast, then releasing it would solve a lot of mysteries. "I'll stay and cultivate." The Empyrean fairy looked at Tang Zheng and immediately made a decision. Now that her cultivation was the highest, she would be able to absorb the energy in the crystal at the fastest speed. Tang Zheng did not hesitate and nodded in agreement. "Xiaobai, do you want to go back with me or stay here?" Tang Zheng asked. Xiaobai grabbed little Yu and pulled it back from the crystal, saying, "Master, of course I'll go back with you. The city is much more fun than this island." "Little Black, you can stay here and protect everyone. You can also absorb the energy in this crystal to cultivate." The thundercloud beast's eyes lit up and asked, "Really?" "Of course." The thundercloud beast jumped up excitedly. Xiaobai curled his lips and said, "What's there to be happy about?" Xiaobai's cultivation was different from other beasts. It almost did not need to eat, and every time it was about to break through, it would hibernate. It looked down on the crystal, but the thundercloud beast saw it as a treasure. Seeing that Xiaobai was about to leave, the red lunar beast bowed to Xiaobai as if it was sending it off. Xiaobai did not appreciate it at all, and did not even turn back. It rode on little Yu and followed Tang Zheng as they left. On the other hand, little Yu kept looking back as if it was thinking about something. After returning home from the teleportation array, and walked towards Tang Zheng in front of everyone, and sat beside him gracefully. Her eyes were like limpid autumn water as she looked at him. Tang Zheng asked, "What's the matter?" and smiled and said, "After you left, I thought about it for a long time and finally found a problem." "What problem?" Tang Zheng looked at her suspiciously. "You gave out so many pieces of jewelry at once, and I did some research. Those pieces of jewelry are definitely not modern items but ancient items. You definitely have more than that, right?" And looked as if she had seen through everything. Tang Zheng smacked his lips. He had to admit that a woman's intuition was sometimes frighteningly accurate. However, he did not figure out Anne's true intentions and asked, "So what if I did, and so what if I didn't?" And said confidently, "I knew you had more than that. You really did have a lot of jewelry. I won't ask where you got them, but what do you plan to do with them?" Seeing that she had guessed it, Tang Zheng did not deny it and said, "I haven't thought about it yet. I have a good idea." Tang Zheng looked at her quietly. She seemed to be encouraged and said impatiently, "I'll help you deal with these jewelry. They shouldn't be covered in dust and should shine with their own brilliance." Tang Zheng looked at her in surprise. As a princess of a country, how could she want to do this? And thought that he did not believe her, so she quickly took out a set of certificates and said, "I have specially studied. Look, this is the top international jewelry appraisal qualification certificate. And this is the YMBI certificate that I minored in when I was in school. I can really help you with this matter." Looking at the certificates, Tang Zheng did not doubt their authenticity. She disdained to fake, but he did not expect her to be so enthusiastic about this matter. He did not know Anne's thoughts. and never believed in the principle of being a good wife. She was a typical Western woman. She believed that a woman needed her own charm and career. Only by making herself more outstanding could she gain the favor of a man, especially an outstanding man. She was already outstanding enough, but she still thought that compared to Tang Zheng, she was a bit lacking. Especially after she took off the princess's clothing, so she must have her own career. This time, she just happened to come across these jewelry, so she had this idea. Moreover, in this way, she could openly spend more time with Tang Zheng. Other women would have nothing to say and could not stop it. Wouldn't her opportunity come? She thought that God had heard her prayer and given her such a good opportunity. How could she just watch it slip through her hands? Why don't you say something? Do you agree? And looked at Tang Zheng affectionately and asked. Her eyes seemed to be able to speak. If an ordinary person was looked at by the princess like this, their soul would have flown away. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, had a strong immunity and began to ponder. He had enough jewelry. So much jewelry was a large sum of money. His business was so wide, and there were too many places where he needed money. So these jewelry definitely could not be left idle. They had to be sold. He had not thought of a specific way to implement it at the moment. Originally, he was going to hand it over to Mu Hongyan, but now she was in Europe and couldn't get away. It just so happened that Anne had this suggestion. He couldn't help but be a little moved. He didn't doubt Anne's ability at all. He just asked, what if there are a lot of jewelry? Can you sell them all? I've seen too much jewelry since I was a child. How much can you have? I have this confidence. No matter how much you have, I can sell it at a high price. Anne was full of confidence. Tang Zheng secretly nodded. What she said was reasonable. After all, she was a princess. What kind of big scene had she not seen? How many jewelry did she have? Well, I'll leave this matter to you. Tang Zheng nodded and said. Anne's excitement was overflowing. She hurriedly expressed her position. Your decision is very wise. Where is the jewelry? Take them all out. I want to properly classify them. Let me tell you, this is a big field of knowledge. Ordinary people can't do it at all. Tang Zheng nodded in agreement. He looked around and saw that everyone else looked like curious babies. He said, it's not suitable to put them in the hall. Let's go to the basement. There's enough space there. And said in her heart that he was making a mountain out of a molehill. It was just jewelry. It wasn't anything big. How could it not fit here? However, she just laughed it off and went to the basement with Tang Zheng. The others also curiously followed. Lu Qingmei had seen the number of jewelry, so when she saw Anne's eager look, the corner of her mouth hooked up into a meaningful smile. And probably wouldn't have thought of the huge number of jewelry. She had to admit that when she first saw those treasure chests, it was difficult to hide the stormy waves in her heart. Everyone stand a little further away. Give me some space. Tang Zheng motioned for everyone to step back and said, and curled her lips, saying in her heart that he was deliberately mystifying. However, she obeyed and retreated to the wall. Tang Zheng smiled at everyone. With a thought, he waved his hand forward. Walala, it was as if it was raining. The pitter-patter of rain could be heard. In the blink of an eye, a small mountain appeared in front of them. It was just that it was made up of jewelry. Tang Zheng didn't realize at first that there was a huge amount of jewelry. It was only when he organized it that he realized that there were so many treasures in these treasure chests. Moreover, even though they were at the bottom of the sea, they were still well preserved. The treasure chests were tightly sealed. Only the few treasure chests that were destroyed in the battle spilled out. However, Tang Zheng timely put them into Sumeru world, so they weren't too damaged. In an instant, the light of the jewels completely covered the light above their heads. It was as if there was an additional sun. The light was dazzling and too much for the eyes to take in. Annie was dumbfounded as her eyes blankly stared at the mountain of treasures. She never would have thought that Tang Zheng would have so many jewels. Even if she was a princess of the imperial family, she had never seen so many jewels. Chapter 10:16. Jewels were eye-catching and would also steal people's hearts. Especially women, their attractiveness was boundless. Other than Lu Qingmei, Fang Shishir and Wu's reactions were more or less the same. Even Nan Nan, the little girl, actually started to make a big fuss. All of a sudden, she pounced towards the treasure mountain and excitedly shouted, "Wow, so beautiful!" and finally reacted as if she had awoken from a dream. She moved her gaze away with difficulty and stared blankly at Tang Zheng. She swallowed her saliva and asked, "These are your jewels?" Tang Zheng blankly nodded, completely unaware of the impact this had on them, and said, "That's right. These are my jewels. This isn't a lot, right?" And resisted the urge to roll her eyes as a voice in her heart shouted, "If this isn't a lot, then what is? With your ability, handling these jewels shouldn't be a problem, right?" Tang Zheng asked, and quivered and hesitated for a moment before firmly nodding her head. "Of course there's no problem." Although this exceeded her expectations, it was interesting to have a challenge. How could she, Princess Anne, be afraid of a challenge? She had already conquered countless storms and waves. She would definitely be able to conquer this treasure mountain. Definitely, she firmly repeated in her heart. But looking at this treasure mountain, a trace of worry flashed across her brows. "Don't force yourself." Tang Zheng sensed her strangeness and reminded her, and took a deep breath and resolutely said, "I won't force myself at all. I will definitely let you see my ability." Tang Zheng faintly smiled. "Then I will wait and see. What are you going to do with them?" And muttered to herself for a moment before mysteriously saying, "Huaxia has an old saying, mountains have their own plans." Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and did not ask any more questions. "But if there is a time when I need your help in the future, you must not refuse. After all, with so many jewels, I am working for you." And took the initiative to take precautions and find an excuse for their frequent contact in the future. Tang Zheng gladly agreed. If Yi Dingdang was here, she would definitely object loudly, but unfortunately, she was pulled back by Feng Xinyang. Feng Shishir Wu and Lu Qingmei were not as loud as Yi Dingdang, so they did not object. Once and accepted this task, she was fully loaded. She was so busy that she didn't have much free time to pester Tang Zheng. He was happy with the peace and quiet. Linger's concert was approaching, and she had already gone to rehearse. The other women in the family were busy with their careers, while the rest of them were focused on cultivation. During this time, Professor Qi Shaowen called to ask about the red lunar beast. Tang Zheng gave him a perfunctory answer. Before the truth was revealed, he did not want too many ordinary people to know about it. Otherwise, it would not do him any good. Seeing that school was about to start, Tang Zheng was also engrossed in his cultivation. His cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. After reaching rank 4 Yuanying, he gradually consolidated his cultivation, especially after absorbing the energy from the crystals in the Sumeru world. However, he could not absorb all the crystals that sealed Xianin for the time being. With this, Qi was relieved. He had been worried that his heart's blood would be completely absorbed by Tang Zheng. If that happened, he would not be able to suppress the inner demons and would be in great danger. In fact, Tang Zheng knew this very well. That was why he stopped after absorbing a certain amount of heart's blood. He only absorbed a little occasionally to scare Qiyu and intimidate Qiyu and the inner demons. In the past, the two of them used to quarrel with each other. Recently, they seemed to have a tacit understanding. Tang Zheng was not used to this. In fact, they were mainly shocked by the trip to the bottom of the sea and the Scarlet Moon Beast. This was something they had never known before. In ancient times, they had always wanted to explore the outer heavens, but they could not. They never thought that as time passed, the outer heavens would sneak into the human world, and even all the cultivators in the human world would be expelled to the outer heavens. Especially the latter, they could not do it with their ability. How did Nura do it? They gradually figured out a little. Nura had received help from Xianin, which meant that all of this was a conspiracy of the outer heavens. That was why Nura could have such ability. After the cultivators of the human world were expelled to the outer heavens, they must have had a hard time. Otherwise, the Devil clan would not be so eager to return to the human world. Now the Scarlet Moon Beast was involved. The Scarlet Moon Beast had a grudge with Xianin. What kind of grudge was it? Why did the Scarlet Moon Beast come to the human world? What were they for? What happened in the sea back then? There were too many unknown secrets in this. He had to unravel these secrets in order to perhaps see through the clouds and see the essence and truth of the matter. To the two of them, this was a huge blow because they were originally high and mighty, insufferably arrogant. Now it seemed that they were frogs at the bottom of a well. The enemy was not only the enemy of this world, but also the enemy from the unknown world of the outer heavens. Everything was confusing, causing them to fall into deep thought. Where should they go in the future? Master, I haven't seen the five-clawed golden dragon for a long time. I want to see it, is that okay? Xiaobai jumped onto Tang Zheng's body and asked. Tang Zheng withdrew from his cultivation state and looked at the dark sky outside the window. Why do you want to see it? After he branded the five-clawed golden dragon with his soul imprint and took it for his own use, Tang Zheng never went to see it again. It was said that the country was still digging into the palace, as if they would not stop until they found the five-clawed golden dragon. Tang Zheng had long controlled the heaven and earth soul-suppressing formation. Without his permission, no one could dig out the formation's core, so naturally, they would not be able to see the five-clawed golden dragon. Therefore, he was not worried about the country's actions. He could imagine that after the five-clawed golden dragon was subdued, although it did not say anything, the resentment in its heart was definitely not small. After being locked in that space for a long time, its hostility would definitely increase. Even if Xiaobai suggested to see it, it could be done. It could also be considered as seeing its recent situation. One was a big stick and one was a sweet date. The five-clawed golden dragon liked Xiaobai very much, so it could let them see it. Master, I beg you. Xiaobai clasped its claws together as if it was cupping its hands, looking very pitiful. Tang Zheng could not help but laugh. Don't pretend to be pitiful with me. I promise you. Master is the best. Xiaobai was incomparably excited. It jumped onto little Yu Yu's back and said eagerly, Little Yu Yu, today I will take you to see a big guy. It is much bigger than us. It is very fierce, but you don't have to be afraid of it. With me here, it can't hurt you. Little Yu Yu looked at it blankly. Let's go. It's dark, no one will find out. Tang Zheng got up and disappeared into the darkness with the two strange beasts. Their speed was very fast, leaving only afterimages in the night. Then they quietly passed through the layers of guards outside the imperial city. After a long time without any gains, the imperial city's defense had weakened a lot. The people were very dissatisfied with the official blockade of the imperial city. This was one less tourist attraction. However, the people of Huaxia were the most forgetful and kind. After a series of protests and complaints, they focused on their daily lives. Their attention was consciously diverted to other areas by the officials. Therefore, although the huge construction banner was a very far-fetched excuse, the people chose to accept it in the end. Although it was night, the imperial city was still brightly lit. Unlike before, the imperial city had now become a huge construction site. It was dug and riddled with holes. It was difficult to have the majesty of the royal family from before. Tang Zheng couldn't help but sigh when he saw it. The country had really put in a lot of effort for the five-clawed golden dragon. This imperial palace would probably be hollowed out. This classic building complex that had stood for hundreds of years and endured countless storms would be destroyed at any time. Sighing with emotion on a whim, Tang Zheng used an illusion to smoothly enter the formation under the watchful eyes of everyone, but no one could see them. The five-clawed golden dragon snorted. It was like a clap of thunder exploding in their ears. Then it moved its body, causing the chains made of 9 nether black iron to make clanking sounds. Then it stared at them with its 2 huge eyes, looking down at them from above. 5 claws. Just as Tang Zheng opened his mouth, before he could finish speaking, he saw the 5-clawed golden dragon's eyes widen, and its raging anger ignited. Tang Zheng felt a chill. Could it be that the 5-clawed golden dragon was going to rebel? He quickly activated his mental cultivation method, and prepared to use the soul brand to make the 5-clawed golden dragon restrain itself a little. However, he saw that its eyes were not staring at him, but directly at little Yu Yu. It roared angrily. It's you again, I'm going to kill you. The huge dragon head swooped down, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. The dragon opened its mouth wide and bit towards little Yu Yu. as if it was an irreconcilable enemy. Tang Zheng was stunned by this scene. What was the origin of this scarlet lunar beast? Why did everyone have such a big reaction when they saw it? Even the five-clawed golden dragon, who had always thought highly of itself, had such a reaction. Of course, he could not let the five-clawed golden dragon swallow little Yu Yu. However, Xiao Bai's reaction was faster than his. It stepped forward and flew up from little Yu Yu's back. A second before little Yu Yu's hair stood on end, it turned into a cannon and shot towards the five-clawed golden dragon. It shouted, "Stop, don't hurt little Yu Yu." However, its thin and small claws reached first. It clenched into a fist and threw a punch at the five-clawed golden dragon's cheek. Bang! The huge dragon head was hit to the side by this force and crashed into the stone wall, causing debris to fly everywhere. However, the five-clawed golden dragon did not stop there. It swung its tail and swept it towards little Yu Yu. Little Yu Yu was not easy to deal with either. With a kick of its hind legs, it turned into a shadow and rushed towards the dragon's tail. With a sweep of its tail, it collided with the dragon's tail. Whoosh! Little Yu Yu flew out like a kite with a broken string. She crashed into the stone wall and fell softly. Xiao Bai was furious and roared, "You stupid dragon! Why did you hurt little Yu Yu? I'll beat you up!" Boom! The strand of red hair on Xiao Bai's forehead immediately burst into flames. Its small fist was like a storm as it hit the five-clawed golden dragon's head. Although its fist was small, its strength was extraordinary. A dent gradually appeared on the dragon's scales. The five-clawed golden dragon was in pain and was completely enraged. Its dragon claws viciously clawed at Xiao Bai. Chapter 10:17. Xiao Bai's frail body exploded with unparalleled fighting strength, but the five-clawed golden dragon was not to be trifled with. The battle was extremely intense. Little Yu Yu staggered up from the ground, shook her head a few times, and became fierce. She glared fiercely at the five-clawed golden dragon and bared her teeth, as if she wanted to tear a piece of dragon meat from its body. Tang Zheng frowned. What kind of deep hatred did the five-clawed golden dragon have with little Yu Yu that made it so angry? He couldn't just stand by and watch the two sides fight to the death, so he shouted, "Stop, all of you stop." However, the angry five-clawed golden dragon ignored his words. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a sharp gaze. With a thought, the soul imprint suddenly activated. Ah! The five-clawed golden dragon let out a mournful cry. The dragon held its head with its claws and fell to the ground, rolling nonstop. "I don't dare stop, I don't dare anymore." Tang Zheng coldly snorted and finally stopped. The five-clawed golden dragon's body twitched as if it had just walked through the gates of hell. In fact, it really did come back from the gates of hell. As long as Tang Zheng did not stop, its soul would be scattered. The five-clawed golden dragon finally calmed down and gasped for breath. Now that it had submitted to for infinity Tang Zheng, its little life was in his hands, and it had no way of disobeying him. Xiao Bai curled his lips and coldly snorted. He ran over to check little Yu Yu's body and kept asking, "Is there something wrong?" Little Yu Yu shook her head. Xiao Bai grinned and patted its head in relief, saying, "Amazing, this stupid dragon is too bad. It actually attacked you indiscriminately." Little Yu Yu grimaced and made a sound, as if agreeing with Xiao Bai's words. Tang Zheng was sure that there was a reason for this, so he walked to the five-clawed golden dragon's head. Although it was lying on the ground, the dragon's head was still bigger than Tang Zheng, making him seem very small. However, when he stood in front of the five-clawed golden dragon, he seemed to have a very large image, and no one dared to underestimate him. The five-clawed golden dragon raised his eyelids and looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. His frustration was mixed with anger and helplessness. "Why did you attack little Yu Yu?" Tang Zheng's face was as cold as ice as he asked. The five-clawed golden dragon finally regained its composure. It slowly raised its head and looked down at Tang Zheng, but it no longer had the slightest arrogance. It softly said, "Because I was imprisoned here because of it." "What?" Tang Zheng was shocked. His eyes jumped wildly. He had thought of many reasons, but he had never thought of this because it was beyond common sense. "I'm telling the truth. It's up to you to believe it or not." Looking at Tang Zheng's reaction, The five-clawed golden dragon didn't expect him to believe it. Tell me the details. You never said how you were imprisoned here before. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing to hide, right? Tang Zheng urged. The five-clawed golden dragon pondered for a long time. Now that the dragon was under the eaves, it had no choice but to lower its head. Moreover, this was an unchangeable fact. There was nothing to hide. Thus it only spoke slowly. It turned out that the five-clawed golden dragon lived in the sea. At that time, the dragon clan had already left the human world, and it was the only one left. It never thought that its whereabouts would be exposed, and it would be schemed against by someone with ulterior motives. The dragon clan liked gold, silver, and jewelry, so these people specially prepared countless gold, silver, and jewelry to bring to the sea. Box after box of gold, silver, and jewelry were poured into the sea like bait in a pond to lure fish. The five-clawed golden dragon was naturally attracted by these gold, silver, and jewelry. It never thought that what awaited it would be an inescapable net that had been planned for a long time. Among them, a large number of cultivators had been waiting for it for a long time. When it appeared, they attacked together. That battle was earth-shattering. It set off a huge tsunami that submerged dozens of islands. However, the dragon clan was the king of the sea after all. Even if the five-clawed golden dragon was not considered a very powerful existence in the dragon clan, it was still not something that an ordinary cultivator could resist. The five-clawed golden dragon was very angry. It was actually schemed against by a human. Thus, in a rage, it did not retreat. Instead, it took advantage of the first opportunity to launch a fierce attack. The cultivators suffered heavy casualties. Just when the five-clawed golden dragon thought that victory was in sight, and was feeling complacent, a woman appeared with a scarlet lunar beast. This woman and the beast's cultivation were very powerful. Both sides launched a huge battle. It was as if the world was going to be destroyed by this battle. Even that huge warship was going to sink into the sea. The five-clawed golden dragon resisted with all its might. After seriously injuring the woman and killing the scarlet lunar beast, causing it to sink into the sea, it still fell into the hands of that woman. It was then bound by a chain made of 9 serenities mysterious iron, and suppressed under the imperial city. Tang Zheng was overwhelmed with emotions. Without a doubt, although that experience was only a few sentences, it was definitely thrilling. If he did not see it with his own eyes, it would be hard to imagine. However, that woman and the scarlet lunar beast actually worked together to imprison the five-clawed golden dragon. That was really daring. It was probably a first. However, this scarlet lunar beast is obviously not that scarlet lunar beast. At that time, I killed it. After it sank into the sea, I'm afraid it had already become a skeleton. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at little Yu again, causing little Yu to keep staring at it. Are you sure it's dead? Tang Zheng moved his head and asked. The five-clawed golden dragon nodded. Of course. In fact, it's really strange. That woman actually took away the scarlet lunar beast's core before it sank into the sea. Heh, she didn't even let her own partner go. That woman's ruthlessness is something I have rarely seen in my life. What? She took away the scarlet lunar beast's core? Tang Zheng was shocked. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng blankly and asked, Yes, what's wrong with that? Tang Zheng was as clear as a mirror. It seemed that the woman also knew the importance of the scarlet lunar beast's core. Therefore, after it died, she directly took away its core. This woman was really ruthless. After all, the scarlet lunar beast was her partner. The core of the scarlet lunar beast had probably been taken away by that woman long ago. She definitely had the scarlet lunar beast's abilities. Seeing that the five-clawed golden dragon was staring at him suspiciously, Tang Zheng did not explain further. However, another question popped up in his mind. Since the scarlet lunar beast was already dead, where did Xiao Bai come from? Were there other scarlet lunar beasts at that time? Tang Zheng asked. Definitely not. The scarlet lunar beast said firmly. Tang Zheng looked at it deeply and chose to believe its words. However, the most important thing was, where did little Yu come from? His intuition told him that little Yu must be related to the scarlet lunar beast. After all, it had always been living in the shipwreck site. Could it be that the scarlet lunar beast was pregnant? Although it died and sank to the bottom of the sea, little Yu broke out of its body and stubbornly survived? A thought flashed through his mind, and he immediately thought of this possibility. This was the only possibility that could explain everything. He quickly looked at little Yu. Little Yu was also looking at him. The more he looked, the more certain he was that his guess was correct. "Master, what's wrong?" Xiaobai looked at Tangjung blankly and asked. "Little Yu, I finally know where you came from. You're the descendant of the scarlet lunar beast from that time," Tangjung said. Little Yu cried out, but he did not understand what it meant. "I really didn't expect this." Tangjung could not help but sigh. The five-clawed golden dragon understood, and looked at Xiaobai in disbelief. Its eyes were burning with anger. "You're the descendant of the scarlet lunar beast from that time? I clearly killed it. I can't believe it left you alive." Seeing that it was about to attack again, Tangjung coldly scoffed and said, "What, do you still want to have a taste of what happened just now?" The five-clawed golden dragon trembled, and shook its head immediately. "That's the previous generation's grudge. What does it have to do with you? Stop right now, do you hear me?" Tangjung reprimanded. Although the five-clawed golden dragon was unwilling, it did not dare to refute. After hesitating for a while, it helplessly lowered its head to show its obedience. "The jewels that I found must have been left behind by the five-clawed golden dragon. I don't know how many jewels she collected at that time. There must be more of those that were scattered in the sea. I'm afraid that the woman did not know that the scarlet lunar beast was pregnant. Otherwise, she would not have let its body sink into the sea so easily and let little Yu escape. However, I'm not sure about the relationship between the scarlet lunar beast and the woman. Based on my intuition, if the woman could be so cruel to the scarlet lunar beast, I'm afraid that the two of them were not really partners who would go through life and death together." Tangjung silently analyzed, and the fog gradually dissipated in front of his eyes. However, a figure flashed in his mind, the scarlet lunar beast in the crystal. The Swedish king once said that it flew from the sky and found it in a meteorite that landed in the world. Since then, the scarlet lunar beast had never broken through the meteorite. If that was the case, it would be a contradiction. The scarlet lunar beast could not break through the crystal, but Xianyin could. There must be a secret behind it. Moreover, why did the scarlet lunar beast in the meteorite come to the human world? How did the dead scarlet lunar beast and the woman come to the human world? Moreover, what was their purpose of coming to the human world? Where did the woman go in the end? What was her real purpose of imprisoning the five-clawed golden dragon? Was it just to help the emperor absorb the dragon energy? She was from the outland. Why would she put in so much effort to help the emperor? Tangjung did not think that she was being merciful. People from the outland must have a purpose for coming to the human world. Moreover, the emperor suffered a great loss. Although he absorbed the dragon energy, the heaven and earth soul suppression formation could only suppress the five-clawed golden dragon with the help of the country's luck. Therefore, the country's luck was damaged and the emperor's dynasty was declining day by day. Therefore, the woman might have an unspeakable secret. Chapter 10:18. Seeing him fall into deep thought, the three strange beasts fell silent at the same time and stared at him without blinking. Suddenly, Tangjung raised his head and looked at the five-clawed golden dragon. "Do you still remember what that woman looked like?" "Of course I remember." The five-clawed golden dragon nodded, his eyes burning with anger. "Even if she turned into ashes, I would still recognize her." "Then tell me what she looks like." Tangjung's heart suddenly had a bold idea. The only person from the sky beyond heaven who still existed in this world was Xianyin. Was Xianyin the woman from back then? The five-clawed golden dragon immediately described the woman. Her image had been deeply imprinted in his mind. Thus, through his description, the image of a woman was vivid as if she was really standing in front of everyone. Tangjung's eyes widened in an instant. Heavens! It really was Xianyin. There was no mistake. It was impossible for it not to be her. However, Tangjung did not take out the crystal stone and let the five-clawed golden dragon confront Xianyin. In Sumeru world he could still suppress Xianyin. If he let her out now, without the Empyrean fairy there to suppress her, Xianyin would definitely take the opportunity to regain her freedom and escape. Tang Zheng would never be willing to take this risk. Master, isn't it describing Xianyin? Xiao Bai also understood and asked. Xianyin. Yes, that's her name. Do you know her? The five-clawed golden dragon seemed to be stimulated and moved all over, causing the chains to clatter. At this point, Tang Zheng finally confirmed his guess. He stared at the five-clawed golden dragon for a long time, weighing the pros and cons. In the end, he decided to tell him the truth. There's something I have to tell you. The Xianyin you mentioned is now in my hands. What, she's in your hands? The five-clawed golden dragon was shocked. Yes. How did you catch her? Her cultivation is very high. She's in the Mahayana realm. Mahayana realm? Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched crazily. That's impossible. She is clearly only in the divinity transformation stage. Otherwise, the Empyrean fairy and I wouldn't have been able to capture her. Tang Zheng had never seen anyone in the Mahayana realm. Even the Empyrean fairy was only in the divinity transformation realm. So he immediately rejected the idea of a five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon retorted, I've experienced a life and death battle with her. How could I be wrong about such common sense? Of course you're not mistaken. It's just that she is indeed only in the divine transformation realm. The five-clawed golden dragon pondered for a while and said doubtfully, Is it because I injured her? Was that why her cultivation had dropped so much? Just like how I've been suppressed here for a long time, my power has been greatly reduced, and I'm far from my peak state. That must be the case. Tang Zheng agreed after thinking about it. How badly did you injure her that her cultivation would drop so much, and she hasn't recovered after so many years? Tang Zheng asked curiously. The five-clawed golden dragon snorted heavily. At that time, I was determined to kill her, but she didn't have the will to fight to the death. That's why she suffered such a great loss and was severely injured by me. However, it's really strange. With her cultivation, she should have recovered to her peak state long ago. Tang Zheng had another question. Xianyin must have consumed the red lunar beast's inner core. Then, her cultivation speed would be twice as fast with half the effort. How could she have stagnated at such a rapid pace? There must be some unknown secret behind this. Anyway, all in all, one thing was clear now. Xianyin and the red lunar beast had joined forces with the emperor to capture the five-clawed golden dragon and suppressed it under the imperial city. As for her true purpose, no one knew why she had joined forces with New Era to overthrow the emperor at that time. That was even more of a mystery. That's not right. Suddenly, Tang Zheng turned his head and looked at the stone room behind the five-clawed golden dragon. At that time, there was an old man's phantom guarding there. Didn't you say that he suppressed it here? How come it's Xianyin suppressing it now? The five-clawed golden dragon rolled his eyes and said, What's wrong with that? That year, the battle at sea was indeed Xianyin's doing. However, there was another expert in the Emperor dynasty. That old man was the imperial advisor. The imperial advisor oversaw the construction of the imperial city. So, in the end, he was also one of the people who suppressed me. In the end, he spent almost all of his time in this stone room. Even when he died, he left behind a phantom. How high was his cultivation? Tang Zheng asked. Just barely at the threshold of the Mahayana realm. Tang Zheng nodded. That made sense. The imperial advisor who was at the divine transformation realm was no match for the five-clawed golden dragon. So he had to rely on Xianyin to capture it. The only question now was, why did Xianyin's power not return to its peak after taking the red lunar beast's inner core? Even after hundreds of years, she still did not return to the Mahayana realm. If he knew the answer, he was afraid that he would really be able to see the clear sky. With a thought, he entered the Sumeru world with his divine sense. Looking at the huge crystal, he could not help but feel helpless. Unless Xianyin came out herself, this problem would always be bothering him. Since you've already caught Xianyin, give her to me. I want to kill her. The five-clawed golden dragon strongly requested. Tang Zheng smiled helplessly. If possible, I want you to kill her too. But now that she has sealed herself, we can't break the seal at all. What's going on? The five-clawed golden dragon was in disbelief. He was very emotional. He was so close to getting revenge, but he was told that there was nothing he could do. She sealed herself with the crystal. Unless we absorb all the energy of the crystal, we can't break the seal at all, Tang Zheng said with a wry smile. The five-clawed golden dragon exclaimed, "Crystal? How could she seal herself with a crystal? Is there such a spell in this world?" He knew what a crystal was, but he had never heard of a spell that could seal people with a crystal. He could not help but look at Tang Zheng suspiciously. Tang Zheng calmly accepted it and looked into its eyes. In the end, the five-clawed golden dragon had to believe what he said, but he would not be satisfied until he saw it for himself. "I want to see her." Tang Zheng shook his head without hesitation. "No, she can break the seal at any time. If I let her out, we can't stop her at all." "I can," the five-clawed golden dragon vowed. Tang Zheng still refused. "It's better to be cautious." Looking at Tang Zheng's firm attitude, the five-clawed golden dragon knew that he could not persuade him. Although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Seeing this, Tang Zheng comforted. "Since she is in my hands, then she definitely won't be able to escape, so you don't have to be anxious. She is extremely important. There are too many secrets on her body. We must squeeze out all of her secrets one by one. Only then can we maximize her value." The five-clawed golden dragon snorted. Obviously, killing Xian could resolve the anger and resentment in his heart. "You had contact with Xian in the past. Have you heard of her real purpose?" "How would I know? My intuition tells me that she was sent by the sky beyond heaven for a purpose." "Humph, so what if it's not simple? I just want to kill her," the five-clawed golden dragon said angrily. Tang Zheng looked at it and knew that it was in a bad mood, so he could not continue talking to it, so he said, "Although little Yu Yu's mother has a grudge with you, the past is like smoke, so this debt is written off. It is now following me, so don't have any ideas about it, otherwise, you will know the consequences." The five-clawed golden dragon looked at little Yu Yu unwillingly. Finally, he lowered his head to show that he understood. "I used to think that you were very smart. Why do I feel that you are getting more and more stupid?" Xiaobai swaggered over and pointed a claw at the five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon's eyes instantly widened. The pits on his head were still aching, and it would take some time for them to recover. White Yi's origin was too strange. Although its fist was small, its strength was strangely great. The key was that its speed was comparable to the speed of light, making it impossible for people to catch it. This gave the five-clawed golden dragon a headache. When facing Xiaobai, his huge body was useless. Looking at Little White's appearance, Tang Zheng could not help but laugh, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. Seeing that the five-clawed golden dragon was speechless and almost had internal injuries from holding it in, he said, "Little White, speak less." Xiaobai rolled his eyes. "That's right. This stupid dragon is not obedient at all. It just needs to be taught a lesson. It is much worse than little Yu Yu. Master, what do you think about the taste of a roasted dragon?" Roasted dragon. Tang Zheng was flabbergasted. He really dared to think about it. If he really roasted a dragon and ate it, how shocking would that be? Speaking of which, what was the taste of dragon meat? Had anyone tried it before? In the end, he was also a person who was not afraid of anything. Yet he was also thinking about random things. The five-clawed golden dragon was incomparably angry and roared, "Xiaobai, don't push your luck." A smile appeared in little Yu Yu's eyes, as if she was very relieved. Xiaobai was not afraid of the five-clawed golden dragon's threat at all and said, "What can you do to me? You have to be obedient so that I can speak up for you and ask Master to let you out sooner. Otherwise, you will be locked up here for the rest of your life." The five-clawed golden dragon was directly choked. "Don't you me? Since you have pledged allegiance to Master, you must understand your position. Moreover, I am the first to pledge allegiance to Master. So, you all have to listen to me. I am your boss. If you don't listen to Master, I will roast you," Xiaobai said with the demeanor of a general. "Ha ha ha." Tang Zheng finally could not hold it in and laughed out loud. The five-clawed golden dragon's eyes were red. He did not know what to say. Little Yu had a kind of satisfaction of getting her revenge. She wagged her tail and cheerfully came in front of Xiaobai. She took the initiative to bow, as if inviting him to ride her. Little Yu is so obedient. Xiaobai rode up and then pointed at the five-clawed golden dragon and said, "Hurry up and call me boss." The five-clawed golden dragon ignored him and looked at Tang Zheng, as if it wanted him to do justice. Tang Zheng deliberately gave him a cold shoulder and turned his head to the side, ignoring him. "Master, if you don't call me boss, you can take care of it, okay?" Xiaobai said. Tang Zheng smiled and nodded. Chapter 10:19. A dragon under the eaves had no choice but to lower its head. Tang Zheng knew when to stop and said, "This time I came to find you for another matter." The five-clawed golden dragon lowered his posture and asked humbly, "What is it?" "It's about the Langya Pavilion." Back then, when he ascended to the 5th level of the Langya Pavilion, he suddenly had an idea. When he looked out of the window of the Langya Pavilion, the area outside of the Langya Pavilion was vast and boundless. He did not know where it was and he had the urge to explore it. However, this matter was not a small matter, so it was better to ask the five-clawed golden dragon first. "I see that there is an endless area outside the Langya Pavilion. What is that place?" The five-clawed golden dragon was startled. He stared straight at Tang Zheng and asked warily, "Why do you ask this question?" "I just happened to see it, and suddenly had an idea. Before we enter the Langya Pavilion, we are told not to go to other areas except for the Langya Pavilion. I actually forgot to tell you about this." The five-clawed golden dragon said with lingering fear. "We can't go to those areas? Why? I think that area is not small. Maybe there are other things." Tang Zheng asked puzzledly. "This is the rule of the Dragon Clan. All the Dragon Clan disciples must abide by it. Why do you ask so many questions?" The five-clawed golden dragon said with dissatisfaction. Tang Zheng frowned and said in his heart, "What rule of the Dragon Clan? I'm not a Dragon Clan." The Dragon Clan was so afraid of this area, which meant that it was not simple. It seemed that this area was worth exploring. Seeing that he did not say a word, the five-clawed golden dragon's eyes changed slightly. He exclaimed, "You don't want to go to that area, do you? I'm telling you, don't take the risk. Since the Dragon Clan has this rule, it must be for our own good." Seeing that he was so strongly against it, Tang Zheng was even more certain that there was something fishy about it, so he said, "Has no one ever been there before? Anyway, I've never heard of it. Your Dragon God secret art has now been cultivated to the 5th level. You can climb to the 5th floor. Moreover, your cultivation has greatly increased, and breaking through to the 6th level of the Dragon God secret art is just around the corner. Why do you want to think about those illusory things?" The five-clawed golden dragon said earnestly. Tang Zheng looked at the five-clawed golden dragon suspiciously. Why was he so agitatedly objecting? Could there be some hidden reason? In the final analysis, he didn't completely trust the five-clawed golden dragon in the bottom of his heart. That was why he had such concerns. He chuckled and said noncommittally, "It's been a month since I last entered the Langya Pavilion. I'll go in again now." After he finished speaking, he sat down cross-legged. Xiaobai immediately stood guard beside him. He glared fiercely at the five-clawed golden dragon as if to say, "Don't you have any bad ideas? I'm here." Tang Zheng's consciousness had already entered the dragon seal. The towering Langya Pavilion was right in front of him. He raised his head and glanced at it. He didn't walk in. Instead, he turned around and walked in another direction. In the end, he still decided to explore this area. Apart from the Langya Pavilion, the other places seemed to be shrouded in fog. He couldn't see the specific appearance at all. Tang Zheng walked straight into the fog. He didn't know how long he had walked. He looked around and couldn't distinguish the direction. He leaped high into the air. He was dozens of meters high, but he still couldn't break free from the fog. The fog was still heavy in all directions. This was inside the dragon seal. He was just a wisp of consciousness. He couldn't fly on his sword. He could only continue to move forward. Suddenly, he stepped on air and fell down involuntarily. Ah! He couldn't help but scream. He was about to cast a spell to stop, but he found that he was falling too fast. He couldn't stop at all. Bang! With a muffled sound, he fell heavily to the ground. However, he didn't hurt himself. He quickly got up and looked around. There was no fog around him. Everything was very clear. But when he looked up, his whole body trembled. He looked at the scene in front of him as if he had seen a ghost. The Langya Pavilion. He couldn't help but shout, "Why am I back in the Langya Pavilion? I'm clearly falling down. The Langya Pavilion should be above me." He subconsciously looked up. The sky was gray, and he couldn't see anything. Only the Langya Pavilion in front of him was clear. However, the Langya Pavilion was very strange. It didn't stand toward the sky. Instead, it was an inverted triangle. The floors were downward as if they were suspended on the ground. The three big words Langya Pavilion on the plaque left a deep impression on him. Tang Zheng definitely would not recognize it wrongly. This was the Langya Pavilion, but why did he come back? Could it be that he was going around in circles again? No, this was not the world of spirits and souls. How could there be a ghost going around in circles? Moreover, the Langya Pavilion was upside down. He was confused. He turned his head and looked around. Without the fog, he could see the end at a glance. It was completely different from what he saw before. He scratched his head. He was very troubled. Since there was no way out outside, he might as well enter the Langya Pavilion. He strode into the Langya Pavilion, but just as he entered the first floor, he couldn't help but stop. This was because the first floor was completely different from what he saw before. It was empty. There was nothing. However, when his feet landed on the ground, the scene suddenly changed. There was an earth-shattering change. It was not empty. A huge forest of steels immediately appeared in front of him. A forest of steels. Tang Zheng's eyes widened. He stared at the forest of steels that suddenly appeared. Since it was called a forest, it was enough to show that there were many steels. There was not a single word on the steels. They were smooth, but they gave off a very solemn feeling. This looks like a tombstone, Tang Zheng muttered to himself after observing for a while. Why were there so many tombstones in the Langya Pavilion? Who was the one buried here? Tang Zheng's hand gently touched the tombstone. A cold feeling came from his palm. A ray of light rose from the tombstone, and a familiar aura spread. Dragon's might! Tang Zheng exclaimed in disbelief. As soon as he finished speaking, a ray of light rose from the tombstone and formed a golden dragon in midair. It flew around the forest of steels, then fell into the tombstone and disappeared. Tang Zheng stared blankly at this scene. What's going on? Why did a dragon fly out of the tombstone? He placed his hand on another tombstone. Just like before, a ray of light flew up and intertwined to form a dragon. Then it flew into the tombstone again. Tang Zheng's breathing involuntarily quickened. He stared at the forest of steels as if he wanted to see through the mystery. A thought flashed through his mind, and he seemed to be deep in thought. Could these dragons be the ones buried below? Aren't they already dead? Why are they still here? Are they dragon souls with remnant souls? Since so many dragons were buried here, he shouldn't disturb them. Thus, he quietly stepped onto the stairs that led to the second floor. After he stepped onto the stairs, the scene on the first floor changed. The forest of tombstones disappeared, and it became bare again. Looks like I have to be inside to see the forest of tombstones. Dragons have such a long lifespan. I didn't expect that so many of them would die. When he walked all the way down to the entrance of the second floor, it was still empty in front of him. However, when he stepped into it, everything changed again. It was still the forest of tombstones, but there were many fewer tombstones. This time he didn't touch the tombstones and let them rest here. Could it be that this whole building is a tomb, and countless dragons are buried here? He suddenly wondered, but no one answered his question. He went down to the third floor, and it was still the same tombstones. It was the same on the fourth floor. When he walked to the fifth floor, he finally found a special feature. The lower he went, the fewer tombstones there were. Especially when he reached the fifth floor, there were only about 100 tombstones. He stopped and looked at so many tombstones, and sank into deep thought. If it was a normal person, they would probably be very scared when they fell into so many tombstones. However, Tang Zheng didn't feel much fear. He just felt that it was very strange. Why would such a situation occur here? Although the two Langya Pavilion had the same name, the things inside were completely different. This was a tomb, but the ones buried inside were all dragons, unlike the prehistoric heavenly tomb that not only had humans, but also demonic beasts. He looked at the stairs leading to the 6th floor, and directly walked over. Since he was here, he had to find out what was below. He couldn't give up halfway. Bang. However, when he walked to the front of the stairs and was about to step on it, he was bounced back by a strong force and staggered back. He quickly stabilized his body and looked at the Langya Pavilion in bewilderment. Could it be that this is the same as the Langya Pavilion? If the Dragon God method doesn't reach the corresponding level, it won't be able to reach the corresponding floor? Please, this is just a tomb. Why would there be such strict rules? He did not continue to try, nor was he in a hurry to go downstairs. There was nowhere to go outside, and there was only so much space in this space. Therefore, the problem that troubled him now was how to go back. With a thought, he tried to withdraw from the dragon seal, but found that there was no reaction at all. Why? When he was in the Langya Pavilion, he could come and go as he pleased. Now it was as if his freedom was restricted. Could it be that you want to trap me here to death? Since there was no way out, he could only look for another way. His gaze turned and locked onto the stairs leading to the 6th floor. He remembered very clearly that when he tried to force his way to the stairs leading to the higher floors, he was bounced back by that huge force, and then he was forced out of the dragon seal. He wanted to imitate this method, so he circulated his internal energy. Like an angry lion, he rushed up the stairs with a whoosh. Bang. He was once again bounced back and fiercely crashed into the wall. His bones seemed to be about to fall apart, but he still did not retreat. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What was going on? Why didn't this method work? Could it be that it could only be done in that Langya Pavilion? He rolled his eyes speechlessly, but now that he couldn't leave, could it be that he was trapped here to death? No, every time I come to the Langya Pavilion, there is a time limit. As long as the time is up, I can definitely leave automatically. He had a flash of inspiration, and finally thought of this. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. He simply sat down, glanced at the tombstone, and then began to cultivate without any distractions. Cultivating in the Langya Pavilion was twice the result with half the effort, so he could not let go of this good opportunity. Moreover, waiting was very boring. He silently circulated his power, especially the Dragon God method, which was circulating on its own. The 5-clawed golden dragon in his glabella began to dance. Chapter 10:20. The tombstone lit up and soared into the air, turning into a golden dragon. However, this time, the golden dragon did not hover in the air, but directly swooped down towards Tang Zheng. Puff! The golden dragon flew into Tang Zheng's body and disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng's entire body trembled. He also discovered this point and was shocked. The dragon soul entered the body. The dragon soul quickly turned into energy, turned into a powerful dragon chi, and quickly fused into his 8 extraordinary meridians. However, even more dragon chi rushed into the dragon seal, and fused into the body of the 5-clawed golden dragon. In an instant, the 5-clawed golden dragon blossomed with a golden light. Tang Zheng was completely bathed in the golden light, like a dazzling golden man. He immediately realized something and hurriedly activated the Dragon God secret art. A series of mysterious concepts spread out, and the dragon chi in his body rose steadily. The 5-clawed golden dragon gradually changed, and the 6th dragon claw grew out of it. He looked at this scene in disbelief. He was both shocked and amazed. The dragon soul could actually help him improve the Dragon God secret art. When the 6th dragon claw completely grew out, he had completely leveled up to the 6th level of the Dragon God secret art. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at a tombstone beside him. The dragon soul just now flew out from it. He looked at the other tombstones. Without a doubt, there were also dragon souls in those tombstones. He suddenly had a thought. Could he absorb the dragon souls of the other tombstones? He stretched out his hand and was about to activate the Dragon God secret art when suddenly, the world spun and the scene in front of him changed. The forest of tombstones disappeared and he returned to reality. looking at the group of Xiaobai and the other two looking at him with burning eyes. He stood up unhurriedly. What did you do? The five-clawed golden dragon asked anxiously. Tang Zheng looked at him indifferently and asked, What do you think I did? How would I know? Just now, your entire body erupted with a ball of golden light, and your dragon chi soared. Furthermore, your dragon god mantra has actually broken through to the 6th stage. What exactly did you do? How did you do it? The five-clawed golden dragon impatiently asked, mainly because the strange phenomenon just now was too shocking. Little White and Scarlet Moon were also looking at Tang Zheng curiously, unable to take their eyes off him. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, Do you really want to know that much? Of course. I was cultivating the Dragon God technique in the Langya Pavilion. Didn't you say that the Dragon God technique was about to break through? I coincidentally broke through this threshold, so what's so strange about that? Tang Zheng asked with a smile. The five-clawed golden dragon thought for a while and shook his head. No. It doesn't make sense for your body to suddenly have such a powerful dragon chi. Tang Zheng shivered. This five-clawed golden dragon's eyes were indeed shrewd. He actually saw through this. Oh, then what do you think is going on? Tang Zheng asked with a smile that was not a smile. The five-clawed golden dragon thought for a long time. He looked at Tang Zheng from head to toe, as if he wanted to see through him. However, in the end he shook his head helplessly. I don't know, but you should know very well. Is that so? Tang Zheng smiled meaningfully. What should I know? Where did that dragon chi come from? I was in the Langya Pavilion. Where do you think my dragon chi came from? Tang Zheng asked back. How would I know? Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. He did not know if the five-clawed golden dragon was telling the truth. There was no doubt that there was another place outside the Langya Pavilion. However, the five-clawed golden dragon had always warned him not to go anywhere. This made Tang Zheng very suspicious. He wondered if the five-clawed golden dragon knew about the existence of another Langya Pavilion. Then let me ask you another question. I'm sure you know very well. Tang Zheng changed his way of thinking and chose a roundabout strategy. What question? How will the dragons be settled after they die? The five-clawed golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously and asked, Why do you want to ask this question? This is not a very secretive question, is it? Tang Zheng asked back. He stared at him with a burning gaze, trying to distinguish whether his reaction was real or fake. The five-clawed golden dragon said, Of course the dragons are buried after they die. They are buried in the ground for peace. It's no different from you humans. Then where are they buried? That depends on their own wishes. Won't they be buried together? Why do they have to be buried together? The five-clawed golden dragon's rhetorical question surprised Tang Zheng. Moreover, it did not seem to be lying. However, why would so many dragons be buried together in the Langya Pavilion? This was too abnormal. He really wanted to tell the five-clawed golden dragon about his discovery, but he took a deep breath and held back. He continued to ask, Then after the dragons die, will there still be a dragon soul? The five-clawed golden dragon raised his head high and proudly said, The dragons are very different from you humans. After you humans die, your soul will enter the ghost realm, but we dragons will not. Our dragon soul will not be destroyed, but after we are buried, the dragon soul will be buried together in the cemetery to rest in peace. Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened, and his heart gradually understood. So that was how it was. The dragon souls on the tombstones were the souls of the dragons buried there, but the dragon souls were not destroyed, and were also buried there. But why could he absorb those dragon souls? Could it be that everyone could absorb dragon souls? He thought for a while and asked, I guess there must be a lot of dragon chi in the dragon soul, right? Of course. The five-clawed golden dragon nodded. The dragons can absorb dragon chi to improve their cultivation, right? The five-clawed golden dragon was about to nod when he suddenly froze. He looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression and asked, What do you mean? Are you talking about absorbing dragon souls, and then improving your cultivation? Tang Zheng remained calm. The five-clawed golden dragon roared angrily. Why is your idea as despicable as the dragon slayer? Dragon slayer? Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard of this term. He couldn't help but stare at the five-clawed golden dragon curiously and asked, "What is a dragon slayer?" "A group of despicable and shameless guys." The five-clawed golden dragon wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that Tang Zheng was listening attentively, he didn't dare to not say it. He thought that this wasn't a big secret, so there was no harm in telling him. Thus the five-clawed golden dragon indignantly said, "Dragon Slayer is a general term for a group in the world. Not only are there people in this group, there are also other races, but the only thing they have in common is that they specialize in hunting dragon souls, absorbing the dragon chi in them, and then increasing their cultivation." Tang Zheng seemed to have opened the door to a new world. He curiously asked, "There is actually such a group in the world? Hasn't your dragon race always been very powerful and aloof?" The five-clawed golden dragon seemed a little embarrassed and said, "Even if it is a powerful race, it is difficult to escape the schemes of some sinister and deceitful people. Especially these dragon slayers. Not only do they work together to slay dragons, what is even more despicable is that they actually absorb the dragon souls of the buried dragons." Tang Zheng couldn't help but blush. Didn't he also absorb the dragon souls? He was the despicable person that the five-clawed golden dragon said. He coughed twice to cover up the embarrassment in his heart and said, "Then how do you usually deal with these dragon slayers?" "Of course we cut them into 8 pieces. The five-clawed golden dragon said fiercely. Tang Zheng felt a chill run down his spine, but he pretended to be calm and said, "Where are these dragon slayers?" "The dragon slayers are very cunning. In the past, it was because we were unwilling to be disturbed that a portion of our dragon race left our homeland to find a new place to live. I came to this world with the other clansmen, but in the end we found out that this was not our paradise, so we naturally left," the five-clawed golden dragon said regretfully. However, Tang Zheng's heart jumped wildly. He grasped a key point and asked, "You said that the dragon slayers forced you to leave your homeland. Then how strong are they? Even stronger than your dragon race? How is that possible?" Panic flashed through the five-clawed golden dragon's eyes as he denied it. "The dragon race is the strongest. In short, the dragon slayers are very hateful. If I were to meet them, I would definitely tear them into 10,000 pieces. Since the dragon soul is so dangerous, haven't you thought of a way? For example, if you hit the dragon soul in a certain place and then protect it, wouldn't you be able to prevent it from being taken away by the dragon slayers?" Tang Zheng asked deliberately. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng in surprise and said, "You are really smart. You actually thought of the same method as us back then. However, the dragon slayers are too cunning. No matter where they hide, they can find them like a cat stealing a fish. In the end, because many dragon souls were gathered together, they took advantage of them and their strength increased greatly. It is precisely because of this incident that the dragon slayers' strength increased greatly and posed a huge threat to our dragon race." The five-clawed golden dragon did not finish his sentence. It was precisely because they adopted this strategy that they were wiped out by the dragon slayers. As a result, a large number of dragon souls were taken away, and the dragon slayers' strength reached a peak state. They were actually able to threaten the existence of the dragon race, so the dragon race had no choice but to find another place to live. Of course, these secrets would be too embarrassing for the dragon race, so it was impossible for the five-clawed golden dragon to not say it. But what kind of person was Tang Zheng? He could see the big picture from the small details. Through analysis, he gradually comprehended a trace of clues, and his guess was not far from the truth. Immediately, he became even more curious about the dragon slayers. What kind of group could be so powerful? Then what about the tombstone in the Langya Pavilion? Could it be that it was also a place for the dragon race to settle down? Only the dragon race could enter the Langya Pavilion through the dragon seal. The dragon slayers had no way at all. Why didn't the dragon race place all the dragon souls in the Langya Pavilion? Wouldn't everything be fine in that way? He did not know the reason, so he decided to test the five-clawed golden dragon again. He asked, "Five-clawed golden dragon, do you really not know what is in the space outside the Langya Pavilion?" "Didn't I tell you? The dragon race has a rule that they are not allowed to set foot in that space. They can only go to the Langya pavilion. The five-clawed golden dragon said impatiently. Seeing that there were no flaws in his words, Tang Zheng decided to believe him first. It seemed that he really did not know about the steel forest. Since that was the case, then he could not tell him. Otherwise, with his temper, he would definitely lose his temper. If he told him that he had absorbed a dragon soul, he was afraid that he would even have thoughts of killing him. Chapter 1021. In order to avoid arousing the suspicions of the five-clawed golden dragon, Tang Zheng brought Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu out of the imperial city. The harvest this time was quite bountiful, allowing him to come into contact with a brand new world. The legend of the dragon slayer made his heart surge, so there was actually such a powerful person in this world. The dragon clan was not always aloof and invincible. As long as one was strong enough, there was no need to fear any enemy. The sky revealed a white belly, and the rising sun illuminated the capital, turning it into a golden yellow color. At the end of August, the capital was very hot. Even in the early morning, there was an impulse to soak in ice water. Tang Zheng had long been immune to the cold and heat, sitting in the courtyard leisurely and contentedly watching the rising sun. Xiao Bai rode little Yu Yu back and forth in the courtyard, as if patrolling his own territory. Feng Shishir went to school to prepare for the new students. Lu Qingmei went to work, and went out early in the morning to work on the jewelry. Marshall was not idle either, cultivating in the training room. Speaking of the training room, this was something that the women had fiddled with. They had tidied up a basement, and then transformed it into a training room. There were many weapons in it, and there was also a battle room. The women would occasionally have a battle practice on a whim. Tang Zheng had seen it once, and could not help but admit that women were really valiant in battle, especially women against women. They did not have much tenderness for the fairer sex. In their words, the practice should be like actual combat, real swords and real spears, so that they could display their proper level in the face of battle. It was precisely because of this that the passion of the women in training surged, because everyone wanted to win in the practice. If they failed, they would definitely think of a way to get back their face next time. Looking at their tenacity, Tang Zheng praised them a few words, causing the women to be even more motivated. In fact, they were very clear that as Tang Zheng's strength increased, if they did not improve themselves, they would always be protected by Tang Zheng, and they would be a burden. No one wanted to be weak. They were in contact with the strong all day long. This idea was especially strong. After all, leisure time was short. Yin Luyan hurriedly rushed over. Seeing his leisurely appearance, he plopped down on a nearby chair, crossed his legs and said, "Young Master Tang, your days are too comfortable." Tang Zheng looked at him with a smile and said, "You're the young master of the Yin family. Don't tell me you're having a hard time?" "Of course. You don't know how busy I am these days." "Oh, why?" Yin Luyan stared at Tang Zheng with wide eyes and said, "Why? It's all because of you. Don't you want to find the whereabouts of the Azure Dragon Hall's High Lord? How could we dare to be negligent? We practically turned the entire capital upside down." "Oh, what did you find?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. "Don't you know who I am? I've been busy for so long. If I didn't find anything, how could I have the nerve to come see you? Of course I found something," Yin Luyan said proudly. He and Tang Zheng had already become very familiar with each other. He was not as cautious as the elders in his family. Instead, his relationship with Tang Zheng was getting closer and closer. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. "Don't keep me in suspense. I've worked so hard for so long. How could you not let me show off a little? All right, since you're so impatient, I'll tell you. The High Lord's whereabouts are very mysterious. We couldn't find him, but we found the whereabouts of another person." "Ooh, Grandma Li. It's her." Tang Zheng was shocked. When Grandma Li returned to the Li Palace, she did not obtain any benefits. In the end, she took a few disciples and fled. He did not expect that she would come to the capital. Yes, this Granny Li is an expert. If it were in the past, we really wouldn't have dared to target her. But things are different now. With an expert like you, even the Li Palace's palace master has fallen from his altar. Don't be ridiculous. Where is Grandma Li now? Guess. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. I'm not a fortune teller. Do you think I can predict it with my fingers? Alright, I'll tell you. She went to Ji Wuxiang's Go Club. Fortunately, you reminded us many times to pay attention to this Go Club, so we were able to find this out by waiting for her. Go Club? Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Grandma Li go to the Go Club? Could it be that she had a connection with Ji Wuxiang? Tang Zheng had always been on guard against Ji Wuxiang. The main reason was that this person was too bizarre, so he had no choice but to guard against him. When a person hid themselves too deeply and too secretively, it was usually because there was something that could not be revealed. Ji Wuxiang was like this. He had such great power, but he was like an invisible person. This made Tang Zheng unable to understand him, so he naturally did not dare to underestimate him. Yes, Grandma Li went to the Go Club, but after she came out, we lost her. After all, she is a martial king. How can we follow her? Yan Luyun said regretfully. Have you seen her since then? You don't say. My people have seen her. She goes to the Go Club every once in a while. It's very regular. Yan Luyun said doubtfully. Tang Zheng thought for a moment, then suddenly asked, when will she go to the Go Club next time? Today. Tang Zheng stood up and said impatiently, let's go. Let's go meet Grandma Li and see what she's up to. Xiao Bai and Little Yu jumped out and shouted, Master, we want to go too. Yan Luyun was so frightened by this scene that he sat on the ground and shouted in panic, it can talk. He had seen Xiao Bai before, but he had never seen it speak. Now that he saw it, he was scared to death. Tang Zheng was not surprised and said, please, it's not like you don't know about demonic beasts. What's there to be surprised about? Xiao Bai's strength has increased, so it's not strange that it can talk. Yan Luyun got up and looked at Xiao Bai in shock. Xiao Bai looked at him with disdain and said, you're so timid. Yan Luyun did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was being looked down upon by an animal. Then who is it? Yan Luyun pointed at the scarlet lunar beast and asked. You're not a zoologist, so don't get to the bottom of it. Xiao Bai, you and Little Yu stay at home and don't run around. I'm going out for a bit. Tang Zheng instructed. Xiao Bai did not force him and obediently rode Little Yu to the side. Yan Luyun looked at their backs and sighed. Your animals have all become spirits. The people who come to your house must have a good heart. Otherwise, they will be scared to death. The two of them came to a secret spot on the street opposite the Go Club. The people guarding the place quickly came to welcome them. Is she here? Yan Luyun asked. Reporting to young Master Yan, she hasn't arrived yet, but she should be here soon. She's here. Tang Zheng suddenly interrupted the two of them and stared at a figure in the distance. This person was Grandma Li. She did not have any makeup on and swaggered into the Go Club. It's really her. Tang Zheng was all too familiar with Grandma Li. A person's face could be changed, but it was extremely difficult to change their temperament. What should we do? Yan Luyun asked. Tang Zheng looked at the door of the Go Club from afar and said, let's go in too. Just like that? Yan Luyun asked in surprise. Shouldn't we be following her and investigating her real purpose? Hee, Grandma Li has many tricks up her sleeve. Even I don't have absolute confidence that I can follow her. In that case, to prevent her from escaping, why don't we go in and block her and see what she's doing in the Go Club? Tang Zheng said. Seeing that he had made up his mind, Yan Luyun also nodded happily. Okay, let's go in together. Ever since I heard you say that this Go Club is not simple, I really want to go in and investigate. Then let's take a good look this time and see what kind of medicine Ji Wuxiang is selling in his gourd, Tang Zheng said. The two of them strode towards the Go Club. The doorman did not stop the two of them, but recognized them and greeted them warmly. Would the two of you like to play a game? The doorman led the two of them in and asked respectfully. Tang Zheng did not speak and secretly spread out his divine sense. He immediately found Grandma Li's aura and said, we're looking for someone. After saying that, he walked straight in the direction of Grandma Li. The doorman's face immediately changed and he said, there are all Go friends here. Who are the two of you looking for? I'll go inform them. It's none of your business. Yen Luyin said impatiently. He and Tang Zheng strode into the hall and saw Grandma Li from afar. And standing opposite her was a man, Ji Wuxiang. Tang Zheng and Yen Luyin looked at each other. Neither of them had expected to see Ji Wuxiang, whose whereabouts were uncertain, in the Go Club. Grandma Li, I know your strength, but I am a person who stands aloof from worldly affairs. I like to play Go, and I have no interest in the grand plan you speak of. From afar they heard Ji Wuxiang's voice full of vigor and politeness. No matter what, he always seemed to be like this, neither hot nor cold, very gentlemanly. President Ji, I'm giving you a chance. The backer behind you is already in a precarious situation. Do you really think you can protect yourself in the future troubled times? I'm showing you the right way. Don't be so ungrateful. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Grandma Li, am not. Grandma Li's attitude was obviously very bad, and her tone was unkind. Ji Wuxiang did not get angry and said gently, Of course I know Grandma Li's ability very well. You're not exaggerating at all. But I, Ji Wuxiang, only want things to go according to my heart. If they don't go according to my heart, I won't agree even if I have to die. Grandma Li sneered. Go according to your heart. You have a backbone. If you die, let's see how your heart will go. I am a person who is afraid of death, but I also want to follow my heart. Isn't there a way to get the best of both worlds? Ji Wuxiang sighed and said helplessly. Grandma Li's face became ferocious, and she said, How can there be such a good thing in the world? I've come to find you time and time again, because I thought you were a smart person. I wanted to save your life and point out a clear path for you. Now it seems that you refused to realize your error, so don't blame me for being ruthless. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.